We anticipate in the next 10 to 12 years approximately 8 to 6 million Hispanics coming into the United States and 41 million Asians. You have been the majority minority for 400 years in this country. You have been the number 2 population for 400 years. You're gonna get kicked out of being number 2, you're gonna go down and become number 4. Now, common sense, even a 3rd grade education would tell you, if you didn't get anything when you were number 2, you all jumped ahead of me, but anyway, you can guess what you're gonna get when you become number 4.
President Biden, do you support reparations?
Well, I mean, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of every 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
We are owed $104 trillion on the very low end, plus $735 billion recurring. This number does not include the cost of about 50 Black Wall Streets that were decimated, nor compound interest from 2017 when Sean D. Rochester's book, The Black Tax, was published, nor the cost of Black life, nor the cost of living increases, nor the war on drugs, nor the current day pandemic. The number I'm working with is for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives.
Good afternoon on the West Coast. Good afternoon in the mountains. Good afternoon in the central. Good afternoon on the East Coast. You know exactly who it is, family. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the Reparations perspective. Bring you those recent hot topics and making the case for reparations. Making the case for weaponizing our love, socializing our suffering. How y'all doing, family? I see you, Trey Lincoln, Queen Mommy, Yrself, my loves. Always so good to see y'all. And for those of you tuning in from Facebook and Twitter, welcome on and all. You know I can't see you. If you want to be a part of the stream over here where you can participate as my co-host, please come and join us over on Screw 2. I know it's been a minute, family. Listen, I started a new position, and unlike the old position where I only had to learn the laws for one jurisdiction, I now have to learn the laws for about 5 jurisdictions. So I've been buried learning my new position. Shout out to the couple of freedmen who actually own major businesses here in California. But for them, I'd still be looking for work. The climate in California is out of control. The racism is out of control. And what slays me about it all is that folks want to pretend as if wanton white supremacy is not Crayola all over the country. They want to pretend as if all of a sudden after our ancestors built all the wealth they eat from, that we simply don't want to work. We simply don't want a job. They are acting as if once we fought and won our emancipation, family, they're pretending as if we just sat down on our laurels, even though they rescinded the 40 acres and a mule, right? And gave white folks, white slave masters, reparations. They gave the white immigrants who they fled the country with 150 years of the Homestead Act, right? And they just act as if all of a sudden the great rescue is of the immigrants that they're now flooding the country with because Black folks simply don't want to work. Let's just ignore everything else. So you have to understand, family, this is not just happening to those who are picking in the orange groves. We're talking about the great replacement and erasure of American freedmen from the low-level workers all the way through corporate level management. We have no social capital at the hiring tables, and I had to look for new employment because the pandemic, right? My job has pretty much been done away with in my prior profession. Okay, it's pretty much we ain't even back in the courts yet, family. So please understand when you don't see me, it's not because I don't love you so very, very much, but I've been blessed with another American freedman in business of 23 years that overstands my education, overstands my diverse body of work across industries for the last 40 years, okay? So he, praise the Lord, hired me to come in and promoted me coming through the door, okay? While whites and Crayolas who are in control of hiring in the state of California are refusing to give employment. And this is why we're down from 6.5 to 2 million in the state of California. But I digress. Come over here to hear me rant like you usually do. I'm not going to rant because I've got a very, very, very special guest. I have a few special guests, okay? I've got my comrades from the former ADOS movement here to help me just uplift a gay Piemonte, okay? Now, I know, not y'all, because y'all roll with your sister no matter what. Y'all know if I get behind it, y'all generally support it. Y'all know I'm not going to bring you nothing crazy. And if I start to feel grifting going on, I distance myself. Now, y'all know me. We've been doing this since November 2019. You come to know me. You come to love me as I love you. But I have been getting from some of the FBAs, I love y'all, but y'all out of control sending me all these coon faces because I'm choosing to bring Gabe on my broadcast. It's my broadcast. Furthermore, let me help get y'all together because not the people that roll with me. For those that kind of peek in here and don't let me know you're watching, y'all don't come up in my feed over on ScrewTube trying to tell me what to be interested in. You have to understand something about me, and I'm tired of this disclaimer, but I feel like some of our folks that bleed chattel slavery have got me mixed up because I push against immigration. You have to understand, I'm not anti-immigrant. I'm anti the government's weaponization of immigration against American freedmen to keep us tethered to the bottom as the anchor of this country's capitalism. So newsflash, don't come over in my ScrewTube feed. I post what I feel like posting. I support who I feel like supporting. You go and do that on your ScrewTube page. You go ahead and you pay for StreamYard and all these other things to get yourself 1,800 subs. And then you do what you do on your thread. But please stop coming to my thread telling me what I can speak on and what should matter to me. I'm not always on reparations, okay? There's other things in life besides fighting for reparations. I got a whole life. I got thoughts about a myriad of things, okay? So please stop it with all this telling me you're off code because I can celebrate Rihanna wanting to be a mama all I want. I'm a mama and a single mama at that, okay? and a very accomplished single mother. So please miss me with it. Don't come over there telling me what to say, how to think, how to move, how to breathe. Don't do it. Cut it out, because I'm not here for all them games, okay? Without further ado, family, I got to bring them up. They're on the East Coast. But I needed my comrades from the former ADOS movement to come in here and do it like we used to do old school, to help lift Gabe up, because we are out of time, and he has proven himself to be an ally. But let me not convince you. I'm going to bring him up so he can share with you his platform, and we're going to dig into this topic of why we need Gabe, 5th Ward, Chicago. We need y'all to turn out this vote, and we need you to make this video go viral to everybody you know in the 5th Ward that's able to come out there and vote for Gabe. It's coming up and fast. So without further ado, let me bring up Gabe, Cynthia McDonald, and Arthur Ward, okay, from the shot. Stand by. Hi, Gabe.
Hey.
Hold on. I know that was a long intro, honey. I have to do that kind of housekeeping.
I love it. I got
to get folks together, honey, because they swear they running something over here at the reparationist perspective. Last time I checked, it was the reparationist perspective. It wasn't Nate's perspective, okay? But thank you so much for being here. My God. First, where do we begin, y'all? Where should I even begin? I'm excited. So we have Arthur Ward here and Cynthia McDonald. Now, you guys know them as our favorite couple in the movement, all right? These are our favorite couple getting it done in Chicago in a really amazing way. These were my comrades from our infancy. I know them way back in the gap from when we started back in around 2019. Marlon Watson, who is not here yet, he said he would make a guest appearance today. I don't know, but I know the show must go on. He, unbeknownst to me, I learned this on TD Hip Hop Media broadcast recently, that he and Yvette Carnell did actually form the movement out of his living room when she was visiting in Chicago. Now, see, I came in on the West Coast under Chris Lodgson. So all this time I'm thinking, no, you didn't. That was Marlon and Chris, and the rest of us. But she did have, although she kept telling us to go be the solution, Marlon had convinced her to actually get engaged and involved during a visit. So Arthur and Cynthia and Marlon are now Freedmen, Chicago.
Freedmen descendants of Chicago.
Freedmen descendants of Chicago. And they are fully in support of Gabe. So before I let Gabe speak on it, I just want a little bit of a commercial from why do y'all love Gabe so much? I know why I started. First of all, let me help you understand something. When A-Dub, which is what I call Arthur Ward, and Cynthia and Marlon, when they said Gabe's name out their mouths, I knew it was official, okay? I knew. All I did was say, listen, because I saw so much Twitter battles going back and forth over Gabe because he's not as tan as the rest of us. And I said, this matters not. Y'all better fall in line. Do you know who has endorsed this man? Do you know? Because you clearly don't know that if A-Dub, Cynthia McDonald, and Marlon Watson said he's good, then you just need to be good. So I want you to please share with the people what is it about Gabe that you really, really love and embrace?
All right. Well, look, it's Gabe's personality and political purposes are two different things. Okay.
Yes.
What the coon people need to understand, dumbasses.
I swear.
Look, there's a difference between getting our group together as a solid autonomous unit, which is what we are supposed to be doing, and outside political operations. Two different things, okay? This is how the Jews get things done. They are a solid group, 2%. But there's a difference between their solidarity and cohesion as a group and getting political things outside of their group done so that they can benefit as a group. That's what's going on here. Okay? And Gabe doesn't even have to like us, because that's not how politics works. Okay? He doesn't even have to like us. What he has to do is agree to certain policies and laws that we want passed, and that's his function as a politician. Most people that vote for policies for Jews, because I used to work with these people on Capitol Hill, the majority of those people are anti-Semitic, let me tell you.
Yes.
But because of political reasons and quid pro quo and other dynamics, they vote on these policies for them. So it doesn't matter if they're anti-Semitic. Well, the only thing that matters to the Jewish people is that these people vote on the things that they need them to vote on. That's it. And you have to be able to split the two, otherwise we won't get things done. So besides Gabe being a nice person, he is a nice person. So, you know, and in actuality, because of how he lives and his connections, he actually has more skin in the game than the average white person. You understand? So you cannot rely on black politicians entirely, because if we could, we wouldn't be in the position that we're in right now.
Thank you.
We got black politicians that are opening the door wide for immigrants to come and roll us over. We have black politicians right here in Chicago that are bringing in immigrants, plopping them in our neighborhoods. And right now, you haven't seen the news reports because they ain't reporting that. Some of these black people are putting hands on these people. And this is the fault of the black caucus in Chicago, the black caucus in the state of Illinois, and the black caucus in Washington. Karen Bass, the new mayor of Los Angeles, she isn't for black people. She supports Hispanics.
Tell the truth, Arthur.
You don't keep voting for her. And she'll tell you straight up, these are the people I support. If you read the stuff that comes out of our office, and I've been looking, this is the kind of stuff that she's doing. So I don't care about her color. I don't care about her community, where she comes from. I don't care about that. The only thing that I care about when it comes to political operations is whether that particular politician is going to do the policies that my group needs. And you got to understand how politics works. You know what? I'll give you a little story. Y'all know Dr. Cloud Anderson.
Yes, love him.
When he was working under President Carter. And he was head of procurement for the whole country. President Carter gave him 100% power. Do it the way you do it, Claude. The biggest racist in the country, Strom Thurmond, needed resources for the farmers in his state. And he had to go to Claude Anderson. Claude Anderson had to grab him by the nuts. He said, okay, Strom, if you do that, since you're the head of the Judiciary Committee, and at that time there were only 2 black federal judges in the whole country, he said, let's do some trading here. I know you need this equipment and you need this and you need that, but I need you to appoint 4 black federal judges in these particular jurisdictions. And you know what that about racist, that about cross burner, that about Confederate flag flyer did? Claude signed off on his equipment. Strom Thurmond shook hands with Claude Anderson, and those 4 black judges were appointed. That's how politics works. And because of the position that we're in right now, people, we need to grow up and understand the difference between the two. So that's all I got to say.
Ooh, that was fire. You cannot do this, family, based on identity and respectability politics. We saw what that got us with Obama. And we see now what's happening with Kabami. Excuse me, Gabe. I have pet names for everyone. It's a different, this ain't TD hip hop. I know Marlon was commending TD hip hop for his professionalism. turn down for what is my mantra over here at the Reparations Perspective. So you're not included in that because I know you're running for office. That's not him, y'all. That's me. I speak for me. Okay. Cynthia, bless us with why you love and support Gabe as well. I mean, A-Dub, just what can you say? But
I just put in the private chat shit. I've just been sitting in the audience drinking my wine and calling it a day. And thank goodness the baby sleep. You know, I just would have been looking at him like, go ahead. I am only here with a colorful jacket and a wrapped up head. Anywho, I think that
I love it.
But you know, I will say this. We will never get any policy done if we are only looking for Black people to do it. We won't. I understand when we had like our spaces specifically with Gabe when he was talking about his particular agenda items that we kind of helped formulate on his website, and you know, some of the things that you really want to push forward in the Fifth Ward and also in the city of Chicago, because even though he may have control over certain jurisdiction of neighborhoods in Chicago, a lot of what happens at city council will be reflective to all the wards. And we have to understand that we need to have people on the city council that's going to actually do what we need them to do. And it's the same thing as it is with if it was a state legislation, state Congress, and also federally. We have to have representatives to do what we need them to do. And it doesn't matter what race or ethnicity that these people are a part of, because I think that we have more than enough information specifically with the Congressional Black Caucus. I'm pretty sure that Angela's going to come behind me with their pet name, but
hey, let me give it to you now.
Yeah.
They're called the Congressional Black Caucuses. Go ahead.
There you go. Okay, yes. There you go. So anywho, we know that this particular body politic, and I'll just give an example. I want to say either the year before, was it last year or the year before last that they did an informal Twitter poll asking what your, as a constituent, what is your issue that you care about the most? And overwhelmingly it was reparations. And these folks still have not reparations as issues that they cape for on their website. So I think that whoever their social media person was at the time that came up with that poll was just trying to get Twitter engagement and viewership on their particular handle, rather than taking a note from the people who actually use the platform on what they should be caping for. Even though they are not the totality of Congress, they still have a voice and weight, and they sit on committees, and they can use their voice to actually push for a policy that is good for us as a people, but they don't. And they wave around HR 40 like this, you know, like you waving a dog biscuit in front of a canine. And thinking that that's going to be the thing that's going to keep them in office. And for some reason, some people who just have this whole thing about they're just going to be herded to the polls, they still vote that way. Even when I was in Houston and I was at the Roland Martin Get Out the Vote block party, and Representative Al Green came on stage and he said, I don't know everybody who's running for office. And you don't know everybody who's voting for office. So just vote 2 and you're through. And I was appalled, because here is a Black man, a freedman, who is sitting in Congress right now representing his district around Houston, who is telling Black people specifically to do not have any type of political education and just be herded to the polls like you've been doing all this time. And we have to say, as a group of people, time out for that. We cannot survive still having that same mentality. What did the parents always say? If you are doing the same thing and expecting different results, that's the definition of insanity. And right now, that's what our political pattern is. It's insane. And so I support Gabe because Gabe supports Friedman. He has listened to Friedman. He's been in the movement with us. You know, I met Gabe and started talking to Gabe when we all came to ADOS. And I know that some people was like, oh, we can't trust the white man. And when we were having our little political roundtable last night, I said, listen, I ain't got to trust no politician. And I don't expect anyone to. The only thing that I'm really concerned about is that if I'm coming to you as a concerned citizen about different policies that affect my group, are you going to do it? Because at this particular time, that's the only thing that's talking to me if you're going to get my vote. We need reparations. We need equity. We need justice. We need an overhauling of the police. We need qualified immunity gone to stop being stepped over by everybody and their mama when it comes to resources. We need the equal share of the pie when it comes to how city money is being spent. Okay, that's what we need. But constantly, over and over and over again, we don't get it. And we got a whole bunch of Black aldermen in Chicago right now. And we have 11 other aldermen that's running in the 5th ward. They all are Black and none of them are talking about Black issues. Wow. So, and I've tweeted this and I've also said this on Facebook as well. I'm at this forum and the only man that is talking about Friedman policy is a white Italian. What is wrong with you other people? And so why are we constantly voting for a Black face to be in a high place and don't do a damn thing for us? It's a no-brainer. So yeah, I'm going to do everything in my power, using all of my different skill sets to help him get over. And we're going to ride this train until the wheels fall off. And then when the wheels fall off, we're going to plop them bad boys back on and keep on riding. And until you have another question for me, I'm going to land my plane there. You know how they say in Twitter, I'm going to land my plane there. So that's why I'm landing.
Right.
Well said, Cynthia. Well said. Mr. Marlon Watson.
What's up?
It feels like a family reunion of the former ADOS movement.
I know, right? I know, right?
I was just telling them earlier that I just learned on TD Hip Hop Media that Yvette was, in fact, there with you when you convinced her to form the ADOS movement.
Yeah, no, she stayed in the house.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
All this time I've been saying she inspired the movement. She didn't find the ADOS movement.
Well, I wouldn't, you know, and I say that on his show and I said that on Naeem's show as well, not to necessarily take credit from them. I give them credit. They had a consistent message about reparations. That's I don't take, you know, that inspired people. The core of their thinking is Darity. Let's be clear on that.
Yeah.
Every reparationist that talks about reparations today in this lineage fashion, they get it from Darity. That's right. I've looked recently over the past maybe year or so. I've researched Darity's life's work, and from A to B, A to Z, it's ADOS. You know, and pre-ADOS, Yvette was talking about data, which attracted me, but it didn't mean anything. It was just, here's a chart. And for people like us, analytical type people, I'm like, oh, a chart, numbers? Oh, what's that? It intrigued me, but it never equaled what we have now. And after matter of fact, I should do it. You know what? People have been asking me to do an expose on the whole chronology and what happened. Yeah. I'm gonna mess around and do that Monday. But anyway,
think you should.
Yeah. But anyway, so I'm not.
Do it a week from Monday, Marlon.
Week from Monday.
No more on your plate.
Yeah, so let's get back on track.
Right.
let's get back on task. But yeah, so I'm not taking credit from they inspired people with the message, but in Chicago is where we started the actual let's do chapters, let's do a movement, and then California, then Ohio, and then it just took off.
And so, I love it, and I love our history. But
they didn't want to do it. Was my point. They didn't want to do it when they came here. It was like, all right, let's do it, and this is how it should look, and then it took off. Which and full credit to them. No disrespect, but it is what it is, as they say.
I love that. Well, I came in under Chris Lodgson, right? Yep. Like I had my little chapter of one, and I met up with Friday Jones and Tiffany Quarles and a couple other folks. And they took LA ADOS and I took ADOS SoCal or something like that. And then we came together and merged. And then, hey, the rest is history. But that's where I know of our origins. I really felt like, yes, I was listening to Yvette. And it was her political education that definitely got me engaged in understanding what happened under Obama. But as far as I knew, you and Chris were like, the two that led the charge to get the movement started, as inspired by her political education and her hashtag. Because every time I ask, or anyone would ask on the shows, we'd say, what's the solution? She told us we were.
Right.
So it was nice to know the backstory.
Yeah, me, Chris, and it was me, Chris, Friday. We was all kind of. It was like a collective, but we should all get together and do like a history of what happened.
Yeah, we need a whole chronological book, because right now lots of folks are trying to take credit.
Yeah, and I've
grifting, but
talked about it like in those terms. But when they start capping, I'll cap back. You know what I'm saying? So,
me too.
Whatever, do y'all thing. I ain't tripping. But if they cap, I'm cap back.
They don't know Fam Bam. We from the South Side. Like we got gadget caps.
Yeah.
For bringing us on the show and bringing Gabriel Piemonte on the show, and I'm glad Arthur and Cynthia are here, because I actually got something else I got to do, and I can go do it. So,
okay. Well, guess what? You're the campaign manager, so I want a few words from you before you jump off to my viewers. Shout out to Facebook, Twitter, ScrewTube. They're all over watching from different places. And we're going to get to some of the people in the chat. I can only see comments from ScrewTube. Yeah. But I brought you guys here because y'all are my comrades from my humble beginnings in the contemporary reparations grassroots movement. I'm so grateful to each and every one of you for your work. But Marlon, I know that you wear many hats, and you have taken on the hat of Gabe's campaign manager. And I really needed you guys here because I've been having a challenge, marketing Gabe, because he's not Friedman. And I'm trying to get my people to understand that this is not about identity politics. And with you guys as the co-founders of the Contemporary Reparations Grassroots Movement here to help me lift him up, it is my solemn hope that we will raise money. We will get more volunteers for the phone campaign, because we only have a week.
Yeah. Right.
So I want you to weigh in. Arthur and Cynthia have graciously shared why they're in support of Gabe. And it's been brilliant, but I want to hear from you, as do my viewers.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. On that ADOS journey, that's where I met Gabe, on the reparations journey. And when I met him, he was talking about justice for Black people. That was his whole lane. That was his whole spiel. As he's a political monster. He's a politically active in the community. Matter of fact, just started the IPO. He's politically just heavy, understands politics and political concepts. So he's always been doing this since I've met him. And he's been in this lane per se. He wasn't necessarily calling it reparations, but after his introduction, I believe it was to Linda Jennings and so on and so forth, he was like, okay, well, this kind of is reparations. And so that's when he started to adopt that language. And then further, as time went on, it just got more refined, particularly hanging around folks like Arthur and Naeem and them from BTP. And so that's why I met Gabe on that in my political journey. The 5th ward is the ward I live in. I live in his ward. We live in the same ward. And just for the record, too, all of us are kind of helping manage. That's supposed to be my job, but all of us got full-time things we do, so we're doing the best we can with the time we have. But Arthur's helping, Cynthia's helping, Gabe is campaigning and managing. So it's like a collective a collective effort. But so we're in the same ward, and I, being politically interested and being a community servant in the city of Chicago, I'm heavily interested in what candidates are presenting. And I look at a candidate's platform as like a menu. If you go to, say, Burger King and you ask for a Whopper, you're likely to get a Whopper because that's on their menu. If you go to Burger King and ask for a fish sandwich or a Big Mac, you're not going to get a Big Mac, and you can't hold them accountable for not having a Big Mac because it's not on that menu. Well, political platforms are the same to me. I looked at all the platforms in the race, every last one of them. I looked at all the websites, all the platforms, anything I could find on the candidates, and nobody had anything about reparations. But that's not even important, because on an automatic level, there isn't much you can do outside of a bully pulpit as it relates to reparations. The other candidates didn't even have anything black about black people on their website. Nothing. And y'all know how us reparationists are. We want something legislatively focused on us. I didn't see that. Out of 11 other candidates, zero about black folk. And this ward is 60% black. And their policies and websites said we're going to, love and help and serve everybody. Gabe wants to love and help and serve everybody too. But he understands that his platform presents that I'm going to pay extra special attention to those who need it the most, which are Black Americans, freedmen, 60% of this ward. And so that's what made me say, okay, well, not all the way. Then he called me and he said, if I get elected, let's open a Freedmen's Bureau in the ward. I lit up like a Christmas tree. I said, what and where? You want to do what?
That was his idea?
Yeah, he called. That's what he said when he called me. Yeah, for real. He said, man, if I get elected, man, let's open a Freedmen's Bureau. I was like, let's.
Right.
And so I said, let's go, let's make it happen. And and that's why I'm supporting Gabe. And I understand, people are apprehensive. And to me, that's kind of positive in a sense, because it says that black folk aren't necessarily just open to outsiders. And Gabe, even though he with us, he's still an outsider in terms of he's not part of our lineage. He's not part of our group. So he's still an outsider. So it says that black people aren't necessarily open to outsiders just because they say, I got this or that, or I got that. But in that regard, one of the reasons Gabe and myself said, hey, let's bring you guys on camera, because I've worked with a ton of campaigns. I've managed some, worked some, won some, lost some, but I've never been in the camera. I've never said, let me get on the live with you, let me do this with you. It's always about the candidate. But Gabe wanted this to be a collective effort because it's his campaign, but he wanted his campaign to be a collection of people. And I was like, well, also, maybe people can see me that know me, and it'll, impart some credibility to you because of the work I've done, the work Cynthia and Arthur have done. So that's why we kind of do it like this whenever we can, just to give people an idea that, hey, listen, I understand you're not comfortable with an outsider. We get it, but I'm vouching for him. He called and he checked in. He checked in with me, Arthur, and Cynthia. We said, cool. So if y'all like us, like Gabe. And that's why I'm supporting Gabe.
Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate you guys so much. Well, Arthur and Cynthia, you're not excused yet. But I realize that Marlon has to jump off. I thank you for weighing in. It means a great deal because we're watching what you guys are accomplishing in the 5th Ward. we can't wait for reparations, like on a federal level. I would venture to say we can't even wait for it on a state level. We don't know what the California reparations is actually going to amount to, even though we got 500 pages of crime waged against war waged against us out here in the state. I don't know what's going to become of that. So what do we do in the meantime and in between time? So I've got my eyes on what you guys are doing to pretty much lay a foundation for the local work I am doing. I'm moving in silence because I just, I've learned from some of the best to just keep things kind of close to my vest. But I'm really looking to see your blueprint and see your victory, because I feel like this is the direction we need to do, both and, right? Like fight for federal reparations, but there's other fights to be had because we want to be around to benefit from it. And if we don't do something immediately, like what you guys and Gabe intend to do for the 5th Ward, we're done. Like we got maybe one more election cycle come 24. And if we don't get politically informed and engaged and follow the thought leaders like those here, it's a wrap. And that's what our people need to wake up to, that they're voting against their own interest when they vote for identity and respectability politics with nothing on the platform and nothing on the agenda. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Oh,
all right now.
We'll donate gabe45.com, GABEFORFIVE.com.
Thank you. I was just typing.
And the phone banking.
We gonna get to that, y'all. Let Gabe talk.
Oh, okay.
We gotta let Gabe talk.
I forgot. I'm sorry, Gabe.
I'm enjoying myself. This is great. This is my favorite interview so far.
We gonna get to all that, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like they just gonna turn like straight to speed racer. Pew pew. Like hold on, y'all.
Yeah, we gonna get there. So I got this donate volunteer button flashed down here while we continue. BB Rodriguez, I see you, family. Kinky Curly Straight, welcome, my love. Nicey L, Scarlett, Tay Bay, what's up, baby? Easy Axe, Cosetta Osler, OL Griffin, what? Say what now? Okay, Ron Hall, I see you, fam. Yeah, Freeman Najee Hall. All right, y'all. Keep it lit over here. They got a bunch of shout outs for, of course, Arthur and Cynthia got all the love up in here. They gonna love on you in a minute, Gabe. They about to love on you too, okay? Gabe, please, please, please. Thank you. Without further ado, now that he's been properly introduced by those who know and love him in the Shy, welcome, Gabe.
Thank you so much. I love it.
Oh my God.
I love it.
Okay, so I want you to just give a little history as to how you got to the ADOS movement and championing reparative justice on behalf of American freedmen.
It's my pleasure. And Angela, I can't thank you enough. This is a real honor for me. I have tremendous respect for the work and the contributions that you've made as well. I feel like, and I've said this before, I'm in the current of history. And it's so humbling. I sit in these spaces with people who are changing the course of this nation. And I believe that, people say, and it's understandable, why are you as a white man involved in the reparations movement? Honestly, I'm at the point in my journey that I don't understand why other white people aren't. And so what's confusing to me and what I have to really kind of step back from is I have such full understanding from being willing to be taught. And I've been surrounded by such insightful and knowledgeable and gracious and generous people that I understand this to be the heart of the future of America, not just the politics, but culture, society, and beyond that, globally, what we need to do to save the planet. And so that's how I kind of walk around the world every day. We have a fundamental empathy problem in this country that has become a global empathy problem. And we don't understand. We want to talk about gun control to stop school shootings. We want to talk about, paper, not plastic, to stop the planet from burning down. But what it all takes is us to recognize each other as human beings first. You don't walk into a school and murder children unless you don't see those children as human beings. And you certainly don't start to think about the planet as something you're going to take care of if you don't see other people as, human beings that you need to take care of. So this, to me, the only thing that's going to change American consciousness is if we face our history and we recognize that we owe a debt, and we acknowledge how our country was actually built, and we come to terms with that, because you can't build future until you face and come to terms with the past. And the other thing I've come to say a lot in this space, in this campaign, is America never changes its mind until it changes its money. And so the issue here is that we have an economy that's based on exploitation, cruelty, oppression, and a bottom class and a bottom caste. And if that doesn't change, we will exploit people until we've destroyed our own, the means by which we survive on this planet. We will burn the house down rather than let the people we don't see as our equals come into it. So, how I've ended up here, I guess it's kind of complicated. It's a long story, but I'll say that in my childhood, I grew up with a grandfather who was very active in fighting against urban renewal in Boston. And how it happened in Boston was that an organically integrated community of Black folks, Jewish folks, and Italians was torn down by the city. And so there was a very rare, especially in the city of Boston, there was a coalition for a time that fought against that. And I grew up with members of that coalition having remained friends with my grandfather. And so I naively, into high school, thought this was how things worked, that people worked across ethnicities in America and got things done that way. And then I came to really understand not only that that's not true in the country, but it's less true in Boston probably than a lot of other, even Southern cities. So, it started there. It went through a period where my first mentor in undergrad was a man, Mudavana Patterson, who was a Black Panther who became a Pan-Africanist. He brought me to the Mandela movement, which some people will recall Roxbury tried to incorporate and secede from the rest of Boston, and that was sort of a thwarted movement. But I learned a lot about the way economics in the country are wed to keeping Black folks away from resources. And just to fast forward, I ran in 2019 in this ward against the alderman after I had made a list of 5 of my neighbors, 5 Black Americans who were friends of mine, who I thought could do a good job as alderman. And I asked them to run against the alderman who was, really creating conditions that we're now seeing are deadly to members of the community. And they all turned me down. And a couple of them said, "You got to be crazy to run for alderman. Why don't you try it?" And so I started making other phone calls. I kind of didn't overthink the implications of that recommendation. And I started talking to other people, and they said, you will be surprised how many Black folks are just going to want to know that you will deliver policy that makes sense. And if you can convince people that you're for real, that's really more important for many Black voters than your race. So I was convinced. I ran. I got 25% of the vote, just under. I missed a runoff by about 250 votes. I backed a candidate who beat me, a young man who very involved in police reform in Chicago, a young Black man from the south end of the ward, and we came real close to beating the incumbent. Didn't do it. But one of the things that taught me was that I'm able to convince some white people to stretch, because they saw this guy, and he's young. He's really, from the street. And I say that in a respectful way. He's really of the community, dresses as such. And so there was a lot of resistance in the north end of the ward. A lot of people are associated with the University of Chicago, which, for people who don't know it, is, essentially the Midwestern equivalent of an Ivy League. And so they had some of those attitudes about a young man who was really from the neighborhood. And I had to convince them that, if you trusted me enough to vote for me trust me that this is what's good for the community. And I did. I convinced a lot of those folks. So all of that combined with, as I was talking about my policy, I'm just starting to meet people like Arthur and Marlon and Cynthia. I also meet a woman by the name of Linda Jennings, who's more of a local activist, but is very involved. And she still considers herself a member of the ADOS movement. So she's still, with those folks. And she said to me, why aren't you just saying reparations? Why do you talk about economic justice? And why do you talk about Black Americans? Why don't you talk about ADOS and reparation? And so, I got started there, and I was, along with a whole bunch of other people, part of the purge when that took place, and have moved on from there, and received an incredible education. And I have to say, Twitter, Black Twitter, that was focused on reparations for a magical moment, was the best public school you could get anywhere in the country. And people were patient with even the most ignorant, obnoxious people. I learned so much, also about how to hold your temper and not snap on people in social media and all of that. And all that, of course, fell apart. Some of it's been rebuilt, but also some people really just have remained incredibly patient and kind through all of that. And that's, I think, I call it the Lodson effect. There's some people who just stay very cool, like Chris, and it steadies, the discourse. And so I went through all that, and so I did not, in this election, I did not look for other people to run. I was actually having conversations about whether or not we were going to have enough money to mount a run against the incumbent, and she announced that she wasn't going to run for re-election. At that time, one man had announced he was going to run, and he said he was going to only serve one term if he was elected. That we're in extreme crisis. So that's kind of how I ended up here. There's a lot more layers to it, but I'm a long talker, you can tell. So I'm just going to cut to some of what's up in Chicago. So yeah, I'm in the right place. I'll tell you, I had poor Cynthia and Arthur just trying to stop in and say hi to me yesterday. I don't know how long I kept them in conversation, but I appreciate the stamina and the insight. And as I said, I'm educated all the time by the wonderful people around me. Folks, I understand that folks are resistant to this idea, and I recognize why. And there is a level of mistrust that is so deeply appropriate that what I don't say is, well, you're making a mistake by not trusting white reparationists. I think that if you're not sure what to do about a white person and your choice is trust them or not trust them, just don't trust them. My hope is that I can get you past that point where you're just not sure. And I think discernment is critical in our in the movement, and it does take allies, and people will embrace that or not. Over time, it will become clearer and clearer that it's necessary. We're the vanguard, like so many other things. And what's amazing about this movement, in my view, and where I am, when I was in Atlanta in the fall, and I looked around the people who were there, and I just thought, this is the future. This is the part of the movement that is actually moving our country forward. And I feel like we're doing it again right now in Chicago, and people may be resistant. They may be frustrated. They may not think it makes sense. When all is said and done, whatever the outcome is, whether we get in or whether we just, fight the best fight we can, as you already said, Angela, we're creating a template. We're creating a playbook.
Yes.
And what you will certainly be able to say at the end of our race is this man who did talk about economic justice. I'm talking about myself in the third person, forgive me, but it makes sense in this context. This man who did talk about economic justice and Black folks took on a reparations platform and did it in a way that really supercharged not just our election. I'll tell you, when we started talking about reparations, no one in the city was talking about reparations. I'm talking about this election cycle. And it was about a month ago that I turned on a mayoral forum, and they asked the candidates to explain their position on reparations. We did that. We did that. Arthur did that. Cynthia did that. Marlon did that. And yeah, I'm out front, but somebody has to be out front. And it makes sense in the context of the Fifth Ward that you would have a white candidate. It's 60%. It's actually 58%, but it's basically 60 is a good number. 60% Black ward. But the University of Chicago is an outsized force in this ward. And as I mentioned before, I was able to do about a quarter of the electorate voted for me with incumbent. And so what that means is it is at least plausible, just as I was able to convince some of these white folks to stretch and trust this gentleman who maybe didn't look how they wanted their alderman to look or sound how they wanted him to sound, that what he wanted was, going to be good for the ward. That now I'm a white man, and I'm asking you to just believe that reparations as a framework is useful. I'm not even saying we're trying to get reparations because I don't believe in that. I don't think it can be local. And with absolute 100% due respect to people doing the state movement work across the country, I don't think it can be state reparations. California, as in so many other things, is an exception. And I think we will spend generations studying what made California unique. But I will tell you right now, having been kind of close, and all three of us have been kind of close to the Reparations Commission work in Illinois. Illinois is more likely, there's an expression, does it play in Peoria? That's in Illinois. We're America. Chicago is the most American city. It is the most straightforward about its racism, is the most transactional in its politics. Our governor appointed the descendant of a slaveholding family, a family with a slaveholder in his ancestry, to the Reparations Commission. We just pointed it out, and his chief of staff threatened to sue us and told us not only were they going to keep him on there, but they were reserving the right to appoint as many additional descendants of slaveholders as they saw fit. I mean, she doubled down. She was like, yeah, we did it, and we're going to do it again if we feel like it. That's America. And so people need to understand.
She's Latino.
Yeah, it's a problem. And she's been a problem for Black folks in the past too. But this governor, and everyone says, well, he's a good guy. I don't know. Talk to Black folks who have worked for him. I hear a different story. Anyway, my point is, America, state reparations is probably, first of all, as somebody who is a writing coach and editor for a living, reparations is a proper noun. Reparations is either, I forgot to take out the trash this morning, so to make reparations to my wife, I'm bringing home ice cream, or it's a federal program that is to pay back the debt that is owed to the descendants of enslaved Black American citizens. There's not a middle. You can't have a half proper noun. So the idea that there's like reparations in Evanston, which is like a sandwich and a handshake at this point or something for like 5 people, and we're going to call that reparation. Like, you run into such problems when you let everyone, and that's when the grifting starts. Again, California special. I lived in Southern California for about 3 years. There is nothing like California. California may not be part of the United States. I'm not sure. It is absolutely unique. And so I'm not, when I say, it's just a different situation. And I'm really hoping that, we end up with somebody running for president who can say, I was, the governor when we, convened a Reparations Commission. And I wonder if in the universal scheme of things, that's why California ends up being the one place where reparations comes close to making sense on a state level. But anyway, I'll just keep running my mouth. So let's jump into any other questions you have. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was rich. I do want to temper people when it comes to California, right? Because I sincerely don't believe you can be a sanctuary state and be for reparations at the same time. Because I have seen us be driven out of the state. So California is one of those type of places, right, where it's sunshine and blue skies and pretty palm trees. And you don't even know that you're in the hood until you hear something jump off. That's how pretty it is. I mean, there's some places that look more distressed than others, but that's how unassuming the politics are out here. And I don't know how you do all of what you're doing to aid illegal immigration and at the same time really be for our reparation, because I believe if you were really for us, you wouldn't put people in blackface that are actually intentionally neglecting us. We've got the highest rates of unemployment, underemployment, and homelessness in the state. And our numbers, I mean, what? American freedmen may be about 4% of the state now, down from 6.5 to about 2 million. And so we've got no social capital, even in politics. I speak against immigration. I believe there needs to be a moratorium on immigration, and I believe that we need to stop illegal immigration altogether, because our government at every branch is intentionally pretending as if this isn't our albatross. They're intentionally pretending like they're not piling on to our already oppressive stance in this country by design of institutional systemic racism to really ethnogenocide my people, because that's what I see when you won't put an end to qualified immunity. That's what I see when you hire people that look like me, who actually descend from my line, who will go out here and campaign harder for our erasure and replacement with immigrants than they will their own people. And they're complicit because their pockets are lined. And they're the ones that are actually getting reparations. And they're going to be able to transfer inheritable generational wealth to their specific line, not the collective. But 90% of us are really struggling. I was looking at the salaries. They wouldn't tell me what the salaries were in the Fifth Ward, but there's no way this can't be intentional when Latinos now make about 10 to 15,000 more than American freedmen. And what I find in Chicago as well as out here, the same is true. We've got far more education than they do, but we can't afford to stay in California. So I've always felt, and I'm a wait and see kind of person, but anytime I can show up to a task force hearing and be called a racist for calling out the ethnogenocidal plans of immigration against my people, Houston, we've got a problem, because it was two freedmen that called me that. So we're not even allowed to speak on it. It's like the government at every branch wants us to sit silently in the gas chamber until we are no more, until we are as few in number as the Indians. And with that being said, I want to share a video, Gabe, because this is very close to my heart. And this particular video saddened me, because the young lady complaining about the racism in the hiring practices, I not only understand her pain, she reminds me of my own daughter, who's currently in college, who I am grooming to own business just so she can hire her own people, because this is another way they discriminate against us. Out here in the state, they have Prop 209 to undermine our affirmative action. And now that everybody's eating well off of the wealth that our ancestors generated with their lives all throughout the country, you got Asians on the Hill trying to close the door on reparations. It really doesn't matter, because we don't benefit anymore. White women come first, and then LGBTQIA, white men, and then immigrants. And then if there's a crumb left, we may get in the door. But now you take away Prop 209 out here in the state of California. And now Spanish is a requirement, coming in just to be interviewed. And Gabe, you can speak it as fluently as Pedro. But when you show up and you don't have the complexion for the protection for hire, it's not going down. Let me share a video real quick, and I want to talk with you about this. And I know it's at the very top of my line of questioning, but it's heaviest on my heart because I see what's happening to me in this state that is doing reparations. So
is it okay?
Let's get into it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I put in the chat, like, is it okay if I like jumped in like real quick?
Oh, sure, sis.
I wanted to kind of preface something specifically going on with Chicago. I saw this video previously, actually, but when we were ADOS Chicago, and we put out some statistics specifically about income and wealth in Chicago, then ADOS, now Freedman community, is roughly for a family of four, like around $33,000 a year. That is pretty, and that was pre-pandemic. So we have to understand also that because our capital is so low, that those particular numbers have dwindled. Especially like when we look at, I believe like it was a Yahoo article that came out that 41% of Black businesses closed during the pandemic versus 17% of white businesses. So when we're looking at Chicago in of itself, we kind of see it's a mirror to the nation, as Gabe was talking about. We roughly, freedmen, Black folk, are about a third of the city. And then you have like a bunch of us that's like in the suburbs, especially in the south suburbs. And then, but then you also have like a pretty thriving Latinx community, depending on where they are. Now, this is something I learned about the Latino community fairly recently in the south side of Chicago specifically, that you had a pretty large number of Mexicans that immigrated to the south side of Chicago between the 1920s, 1930s. You had a larger contingency of the Mexican men that fought in World War II, also in the Korean War, and also in the Vietnam War. Now, a large portion of them, and I knew a few of them because where I live specifically, because I'm not far from the Fifth Ward at all, you know, further southeast, there, the freedmen Black community and the Latine, mostly Mexican community are pretty much side by side. So you had a lot of the veterans that were coming back from war being able to take advantage of a lot of different policies that white people were able to take advantage of, including the WAP. That was a part of the New Deal, where, you know, you had a guaranteed job. Also, the GI Bill that was enacted by Roosevelt in 1944 before he passed away. And so you had a bunch of them that was able to not only purchase homes, but also to utilize their loans to buy businesses. And that's what really helped build like little Mexican, that's the best way that I can put it, neighborhoods where they were not only living in those areas, they were also running businesses in those areas. So when we're looking at the economic makeup in Chicago, when it comes to like Hispanics, that's largely Mexican, you have like this, you know, what is it, like 80 to 90% white, 8% to 9% or 10% Latine, and then 0 Black. And the reason being is because a lot of policies that were like dedicated for white people, Latine people were able to do it because they were considered white. If they were of the hue of myself and you, even if they were Latine, if they still had that Black moniker on them, they were not able to get it. And you didn't even see an influx of them per se, like Afro-Latine people, until the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. because that's when the laws changed when it came to immigration to make it a little bit easier for Caribbean countries and also African countries to help them immigrate here in the United States. And they went mostly to urban areas where they were able to take advantage of some of these policies because it was already available, because this is what they had set aside for white folk. And since you like white adjacent, you can get it too. And this is what we're dealing with specifically here. And then now that we have like this Office of New America, and I'm pretty sure that we can talk about that a little bit later, that is set up, that's a federal program that only immigrants can take advantage of.
Thanks
if
to
you
Obama.
are
That happened under Barack Obama.
No, right. You can, if you are an immigrant, you can take advantage of this program, even if you're undocumented. That means scholarships, that means money, that means rent assistance, that means food assistance. And the reason why I know this specifically, being a social worker and working with undocumented people, I was able to send them to the Office of New America in order for them to get assistance for different things that they needed. You know, since I had a population that was pretty diverse, even though most of my population was freedmen, I also had some people who were undocumented, including undocumented Africans. So this is the uphill battle.
May I interject? Where do freedmen turn for those resources?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we should talk about that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. But I really wanted to paint a picture specifically what it looks like here in Chicago. But it's not as different from other urban places that are in that's in the United States. I often say that, like, you know, what you see here, you can see a pretty decent reflection of it in Boston, in New York, in parts of Southern California, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to just kind of just jump in there and just kind of just give that particular picture.
I appreciate that, but it's the whole state of California is what we're going through. It is out of control how we've been dislocated from even the Bay Area. And the biggest challenge I have with all of this is we've got no place to go.
Yeah.
These other groups, if it got rough, they can retreat back to their own countries with dual citizenship. This is it. And so, Gabe, you got a lot on your shoulders, but I do want to memorialize this beautiful young sister's story out of El Paso, Texas, and we can continue. If anybody has a time constraint, you guys let me know, because I was born to talk, and it seemed like Gabe was born to talk. Cynthia's born to talk, and Arthur's born to talk. So if you guys have to jump off, let me know, and then I will continue with my co-host, because child, we just be going. Hold on, let me share this video, and I want to hear from you, Gabe, about what you intend to do as part of your platform, given immigration. And we're going to talk about other things, but this is heavy on my heart, okay? Not that I'm in Chicago, but it's heavy on my heart. Let me see. Hold on, let me, stand by. Present. Oh, I must be sharing it. Hold on one second, guys. It's already up here. How do I do that? There we go.
Here we go.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Just gotta go over here and play it.
The way the Spanish culture, the Spanish people have made it so difficult for one like me to get a job where I'm from, the country that I've been oppressed in.
Hold on, guys. I'm sorry.
How do you...
Technical issues over here trying to get the whole thing where y'all can see it. Just stand by. What happened here? Just a second. I don't understand what goes on with this TikTok thingy, guys. Hold on. I'm so sorry. I was trying to get her face in the full frame.
Yeah.
And it just
I've seen this too, and
I haven't.
Her heart is hurt. She's hurt to her
Well,
heart.
I'm hurting for her.
There it is. There you go.
Yes.
Stop.
Okay, I'm gonna do it right here. Yeah, lots of my people haven't seen this, so let me share.
Yeah, I haven't seen
Do
it.
you make it difficult for me to get a job? But I would never make it difficult for you to get a job. We're both the minority. I go to this interview, Mesa Maya downtown in Dallas, Texas. Texas, I fucking hate Texas. I hate Texas. I don't belong here. I really want to leave, but I live in Texas. And I'm probably over fucking reacting, but bitch, I lived in El Paso, Texas for almost 5 years. And do you know how fucking racist they are towards me? Do you know how hard it was to live there? Do you know how hard it was to get a job? Do you know I can't go in to a job and be myself? And I live in America? Me? Y'all can't be serious right now. And it's just been so hard. I get into this place for an interview. Mind you, I was on time. My appointment was at 2:00. This other girl walks in. She's Hispanic. She gets seen before me. They're speaking to her right beside me, interviewing her. They wait 15 to almost 20 minutes to come and talk to me, and then approach me speaking nothing but Spanish. I answered a few questions because I do understand some Spanish. Enough Spanish to get me by. He goes full blown Spanish on me. I let him know I'm not fluent in Spanish. Do I need to be fluent in Spanish to get this job? He says yes. And then he starts speaking to me in English. Like he's the homie on the street. Like he know all our lingo and everything. But you couldn't give me this job because I'm not fluent in Spanish, and this is America? You cannot be serious right now. I'm so fucking angry right now. This video is going up. I don't give a fuck how I look. I don't give a fuck how embarrassed I might be. This shit is fucking insane. We're about the minority. What the
fuck? And that's not just happening to her. She is echoing the sentiment of my people from low-level jobs. You'd be hard-pressed out here in California who is for reparations. You'd be hard-pressed to get into a bank and see my people in my own community, a grocery store and see my people from my community, a fast food restaurant and see my people. It is abhorrent. And she is echoing the sentiment of what's happening to American freedmen, specifically as our albatross, all over the country. And she's not just hurt. This is by design. These are the ethno-genocidal plans I've been screaming about for a few years now. And I keep telling people, as California goes, so goes the nation. And this is what American freedmen have been continuing to vote for. Our own erasure and replacement. So.
But notice how the young lady was speaking. She was speaking as if she feels that there's supposed to be a black-brown coalition. But she kept saying, well, you know, we're both minor. That's not how they look at us. This is a tribal thing. And they are taking care of their tribe.
You
and
know,
we got Democrats right here still talking about that black-brown bullshit.
You know, I just want to jump in real quick because I would have a few questions for her specifically just to get like full context of what's happening. Because I would want to know, when she applied for the job, did it say on the application process that you have to speak Spanish? You know, that because my thing is like, if you didn't preface that, then that shouldn't even be a requirement. You actually got a case, sis. Another thing is that I would have a question about specifically what is this position and how is Spanish involved? Like, I understand that, like, if you are in a community that's predominantly Hispanic and you may have to be able to be bilingual in order for you to speak to the populace that's actually going to be there, like a healthcare center, like say for instance, like if you got a bunch of, you know, patients that may be coming in and they are Hispanic and you need to be able to be dual language, okay, fine, whatever. But that's not necessarily the case for every position that, you know, may be in that organization, if that makes sense, right? So I would want to know a little bit more specifically as far as like the context is concerned. And the only reason why I bring that up is because I want to make sure that we, as you say a lot, Miss Nirvana, overstand what type of environment that we are in, specifically when it's time for us to be able to do our economic thing, including being able to attach ourselves to different organizations in order for us to get a job. And another thing that we don't necessarily have, that other groups have a bit more of, is protection in order for us to be able to get the things that we need to get to live and thrive. The job that I was laid off from illegally, I was talking to a friend of mine who said that they replaced my position that was 85% grant funded, so they didn't have to get rid of me. It was I was just too damn black and loud, that they replaced it with 4 case manager generals, including 2 on the south side of Chicago. The ones on the south side of Chicago make less money than the ones on the north side. If you know anything about Chicago, that the south side of Chicago is mostly where we live. Okay. The place that I was working was mostly people who were coming there, even if you had white, you had Hispanics, you had other people, but the majority of them were coming to that clinic were freedmen. And those are the clinics that were most underserved throughout that entire organization. So they're saying that, okay, well, we're going to fully pay these people, even though we laid you off saying that we needed the money, but obviously we didn't. And we're going to pay the people less to serve the people that look and are of your lineage.
Well, this is my concern, like I said, at every level of the employment, the force of employment. And I want to know, Gabe, what is on your policies? Because what I find is that they're importing the most racist of refugee and immigrant that they can find. And like Dr. Claude Anderson said at the top of my program, we don't have the manpower to fight all of these groups. It's just piling on before making American freedmen whole. So I'm not really as much as I understand that you need more context, Cynthia. I literally don't, because I know what's happened to myself personally as a Black professional in the state of California, that it should not take 6-7 months to get work, all because of a pandemic dislocating me from my position. Or at least
I get what you're saying. I would say, like, I have specific questions for her, because like my whole thing is like, if we can prove specifically for you that they didn't give you a job because you didn't speak Spanish, even though the job didn't require it, you have a case. That's what I'm saying specifically for her. Absolutely. But when I was when I was talking about like things that have happened to me in the organization that I was part of, that organizations in of themselves invest in our disenfranchisement, if that makes sense.
Yes, they. Oh yeah. Remember, I've shared with you guys about what happened to me at Wells Fargo Bank. I shared with you how they got rid of all of us, from tellers all the way up and through executive level management, replaced us with immigrants, and then had the immigrants robbed from the consumers. And then John Stump got $146 million golden parachute after getting these immigrants into the Wells Fargo to undermine their customers. But we are not there anymore. It is a blackout, and it's specifically American freedmen.
Yeah.
So back to Gabe. What's your plan? What, man? What's your plan?
Well, thank you for asking. Yeah, this is, I'll start with illustration very close to home, and that involves actually my neighborhood. There's an elementary school. People may or may not remember when Rahm Emanuel was mayor of Chicago, he closed 50 schools. He basically closed 50 black schools. There's a conversation to be had about the evisceration of government employment for black folks that is, maybe we'll come back on here, Angela, because there's so many components to this. But it's really important to understand kind of the context. We've been working very hard to underemploy Black Americans, freedmen, for a long, long time. And this is the latest of a number of, and I appreciate the term politics because I think it makes a lot of sense. And these are politics that I really have a deep understanding of, even looking at my own ethnic group's history. Because to me, and Arthur, you correct me if you think I'm wrong, but before the Latino wave, the folks who did the most anti-Black racism to prove that they were white enough to become white were Italians. I mean, if you look at the behavior
and
of Italian
Irish,
Americans,
no,
the Irish are bad. The Irish are bad. I would argue, coming from Boston, which is like equal parts Irish and Italian, that we outdid even the Irish. But that's not a debate I want to have or anything I'm very proud of. But it's important to understand that this kind of vitriol directed against the reason. So there's a conversation about the Black and Brown the Black and Brown alliance. We pretend that Latino folks are not coming to America to become white. And that's the point of coming to America. Because you can only do one of two things in America other than be kind of sidelined, and that's be Black or be white. This is not a country of nuance. This is an economic engine, and it has two gears, basically. And one of them is it's reversed, you get run over, and the other one is full steam ahead, and that's for white folks. So what we're seeing in, I think, the hatred that Black folks are now experiencing, freedmen are experiencing from Latinos, is Latinos are starting to get it in the same way that Italian Americans. So when Italians first came to the United States, they were actually pro-Black. There's not a lot of difference between Southern Italian culture and Black culture in terms of, on the face of it, they're seeing people that are looking like their cousins, their family in Sicily, some of the folks they knew across the Mediterranean. This is very, very early. This changes quickly, and it changes through, dramatic repression and oppression whenever there starts to be actual coalition. So Black folks are starting to intermarry with Italians. Italians are starting to do business together. A lot of people don't know that the famous lynching, people say it's the biggest lynching in history. I think we won't go down that road, but the Italian lynching in Louisiana really was a retribution for starting to do business with Black folks. And so there's a history where you come to America and you say, this is great, I can't wait to be white. And eventually you figure out, well, the only way you do that is to demonstrate without a shadow of a doubt that you're part of the chattel slavery tradition, that you're willing to treat this one group of people as the underclass. And if you can prove that, we may let you in or we may not. And that's what people are experiencing now. And I think, that's important for people to understand. Now, I want to talk about Chicago real quick. We have these closed elementary schools. There's one in my neighborhood, Wadsworth Elementary School. The mayor has a meeting in the fall with the alderman. This is our, neighboring to the ward I'm running in, who is a friend of mine, and says, don't tell anybody. We're moving 500 adults into Wadsworth Elementary School, immigrants, undocumented immigrants. And so she immediately tells everybody. And so this is like, they have this kind of issue of Alderman Jeanette Taylor and the mayor, where Jeanette's, she's from the community. She's kind of the real deal. And so she just doesn't put up with these shenanigans. And so there are consequences. That's why they were moved in. And this is the point I'm getting to, is that I believe that there was at least a significant possibility that if this had rolled out the way it was originally intended to, because what I just said was the initial briefing was 500 adults. That is actually a very difficult demographic to organize in that way. People coming undocumented to the United States, and then they're kind of shipped up to Chicago from Texas or whatever. These are families for the most part. So you have to work hard to organize, this group. I believe that the plan was 500 voters. Now, we haven't gotten to the point yet in Chicago where we let undocumented people vote. But if you look at kind of the trends in Illinois, I don't think it was beyond the realm of possibility at some point in the fall, if they had been able to set that up early enough, that might have happened. In any event, it for sure drove politics in the ward crazy. And as somebody who's in a campaign right now, I can tell you your most precious commodity is time. And so what they were able to do, I think, again, the early plan was blow up the ward phones, blow up the news media that wanted to talk about immigration, try to force Jeanette to say things about immigrants that could make her toxic to the kind of donors. She has a substantial donor base on the white left. And so now you put a microphone in front of her and say, what do you think about Mexicans, Alderman Taylor? And she says some stuff about how it's not fair they're being brought in. You see how it's working. It's sabotage. So what I believe is that immigration is weaponized, as many other things are weaponized, through white supremacy. And that the intent is to do exactly what you're describing and what this young lady is describing. And that frustration, I feel that deeply. I have children who compete for these jobs. We're old enough now that we're making do in different kinds of ways. But entry-level jobs, there really is this threshold, and it's very surface, and there's not a lot of fairness. People break equal opportunity laws left and right and center all day long for young people.
And it shouldn't be allowed.
Because it shouldn't be allowed.
Go to jail.
We need, and what this is all going to come back to is reparations, which is usually what it does in conversation with me. Because what you need is resource people who can say, I'm going to sue you from now until 10 years from now for what you did to my kid. Because that's what we would do. If that happened and I have the resources to do something, that problem's never going away for you because of how you treated people I love. The challenge we have is that there aren't the resources to demand fairness. This is not a country of laws. This is a country of economics and transaction. And we don't have the capacity to force those laws to act the way they're supposed to act. It was supposed to be life, liberty, and the pursuit of property. And they thought that was a little too explicit. So they said happiness. So this is always about this fight for resources. This is why you've got to change America's money, because we've got to change the way people think about how money works in this country. So what I say, the mayor creates sanctuary cities. The city councils do not. So what you have to do, I think, as a city council, you have to be strategic. We're working in partnership with Mark King Carter, and I don't know how many people who watch this program know Mark Carter, but he is an outspoken critic of immigration policy in this country. And so we're demanding, first of all, if you have an office for New Americas, you have to have an office for Freedmen Affairs on the city level. And that's something we will advocate for, but that's also what our Freedmen Bureau will do. Our Freedmen Bureau, an element of this that's very important for people to really get the depth of the crisis we're dealing with. In 1980, there were about 75,000 Black folks in South Shore, and there are about 50,000 now. So what that means is our 58%, we have about a third of South Shore in our ward. We've lost about 10,000 Black folks, and they're freedmen. That's what we're losing. We gained immigrants. There's a whole subsidized development right up the street from me that a chunk of it, probably 20% or more, are people who have immigrated from Africa. So those folks are getting, in and settling down and whatnot. But folks who owned property, which are almost all freedmen who had property they passed on and whatnot, the foreclosure rate, the eviction rate, the violence in the communities have been pushing people out. So we're in crisis to the point that it is a battle over territory. So when we say a Freedmen's Bureau and we talk about planting a flag, we literally mean a flag. We mean a Freedmen's flag on 71st Street. We already know the building we want. And if Marlon was here now, he would interrupt me, or probably not. He's polite. But when I stopped to catch a breath, which I do every once in a while, he would say, we're making 71st Street Freedmen's Boulevard. And every block is going to have a pillar with the history of Black folks, of Black Americans on it. We are going to, first of all, teach children about the history of this movement. There will be reparations history on it, as well as the history of South Shore and the Black folks who helped build it. But the other thing you'll do when you do that is, this is Freedmen territory, block by block by block. We're talking about concrete posts. We're talking about metal bolted into those posts that we're going to say, you know, our strategy, what we want to do, and we haven't gotten into the policies yet. I hope we'll have a chance to do that. But the effect is, we want the Fifth Ward to be the safest neighborhoods, safest communities for freedmen in the city. And we want people flocking to us because landlords don't get to do dirt on you, because the police don't cause the trouble that they cause elsewhere, because the gangbangers don't cause trouble that they cause. A safe, beautiful, peaceful, prosperous place to be. And if you would leave us alone, if you would let us protect ourselves and our interests, that's what would happen. If people were left to their own devices in Black communities would prosper. It takes a tremendous amount of resources to have these neighborhoods continue to be in the shape they're in. And when I can tell you story after story, neighborhoods that were successful Black middle-class neighborhoods in the city of Chicago was responsible for destabilizing them, and they usually use housing. And let me just quickly, Angela, say this last thing. When we talk about how the reparations get applied locally in Chicago, it's housing. It is housing. It is systematic. We can quantify it. We can measure the harm, and we can measure the repair that has to be done. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to say that freedmen have been specifically targeted by the city and their co-conspirators and the private industry. They have been steered. There have been contracts. There have been resources where they just weren't allowed to have vouchers they should have had. The whole idea that you say, we've got a Section 8 voucher system, we have these vouchers for people so they can have a subsidy for housing, and now we're going to put some people in the front of the line. No, freedmen first. So that's the approach that we're taking, is to just say, this whole system is a mess. It's a mess. And the way you solve it is by starting with freedmen. Yes,
and Gabe, I have to just interject real quick, because you was talking about Section 8 housing, just like helping people with housing. And this is another issue that we're having specifically in Chicago with freedmen, is that even if they are awarded like some type of housing voucher, they send him directly to the suburbs.
Right.
They steer people out. That's right.
They steer them out.
And not to a nice place. People think, oh, suburbs, that's so nice. No supportive services, no resources, and I mean, even a nice
food deserts,
suburb for white
Angela,
people. Yeah, endless problems.
Food deserts, Angela, transportation at deserts, and also not being able to have proper clinical care, and also like healthcare facilities. Like these places are almost just like desolate, to the point that you are just kind of stuck out there, and you're not able to get the different things that you need to get. And this is primarily happening to freedmen when they are getting housing vouchers in the city of Chicago.
To disappear
them. Redress for that. Yeah. To disappear.
And if I'm lying, I'm dying.
No, you're telling the absolute. Well, now it's so bad. I think I saw a report in Atlanta, or somewhere in Georgia, where they're giving them vouchers, but nobody's renting to them. Nobody's doing Section 8 anymore. So you got whole Black families being evicted and being rendered homeless, having to sleep in their cars with their children now, post-pandemic, right? Those resources didn't get to our people. While you can listen up in the news and see any manner of white man who has, is able to repay $1 million that they stole from the PPP. And all of these funds that were supposed to be used for our communities are being repurposed. Okay.
Or even, our folks, or even, I was going to even say, Gabe even mentioned this before about, specifically in the South Shore area, if they are awarded vouchers from different organizations, that the landlords are not keeping up the properties in order to force people out. So there's still and because I had clients who were living in Gabe's ward who were awarded different housing vouchers through social service organizations, and they would get there and the apartment wasn't clean. They would have roaches. They would have issues with their heating. They wouldn't have the garbage called away, so there would be flies and maggots in the backyard, so they couldn't even get through the area so that they can throw their garbage away. The areas where they would have to lock the doors and things of that nature were not fixed. Their mailboxes would be hanging towards the side, so they couldn't even get like their mail. And because those other areas are not properly secure, as far as like being able to deliver the mail and also packages, if they receive packages, their packages would get stolen. So a lot of times we would have to work with the client and also the organization that they actually got the voucher from in order to remove them from that particular location. And oftentimes they would end up in a slightly better, but not that much better area outside of the city, because this is happening in the city itself.
And guess what they say? Well, let me interject real quick, Gabe, if you can go for it, my friend. What they share when they show it on the news is that we're the ones destroying the properties, akin to the lies they tell in order to flood the country with immigrants because they lie and say we don't want to work. And then they're lying so tough wherein they don't even count the people who have given up looking because of all these hoops they've got to jump through just to even get a job. They have literally just stopped. And so they're entrenching them more so into a welfare kind of poverty state that they will never be able to dig themselves out of if we don't take advantage of this time right now to elect the likes of Gabe Piemonte. Please donate, volunteer at gabefor5.com. Please like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Make this message go viral. We got 1 week to get this done. Go ahead, Gabe.
I appreciate you saying that, and it's so true. You know, this country has resented having to pay Black folks for work since emancipation. It's structurally, we never changed. There was never a transformation. We never came to terms with what we had done, and I think so much of this just makes more sense to people when they're willing to kind of face the past. So we are all big picture talkers, and I love it. I love it because this is really, you know, you can really get to a lot, taking people who have the time and the stamina to take the journey. Our politics are very local, the work that we're trying to accomplish here. And I think it's a model that we are hoping we can replicate in other states that begins
we're done
with this local view, but that encompasses all of this. First of all, I want to say something about this criminalization of people who have been exploited, especially freedmen who have been exploited. What I say when we talk about, because public safety, of course, is a big concern for voters here, like it is all over the country. We have a white man that is basically alt-right running for office here, who's polling very well right now. He's endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police. He got a check by one of the cops who murdered Laquan McDonald. He has support of multiple Proud Boys that have supported him, and he's polling very well because people are afraid in terms of public safety. What I say when we talk about public safety in forums and so on is the problem with our analysis of the criminal challenges in Chicago is that our definition of criminals is too narrow. So once you expand the idea of where the criminal element is to include these landlords, for example, and I think that's a really important one, but really all of the co-conspirators, and sometimes it's a city worker, sometimes it's a building inspector. When you expand that enough, all we want to do in the Fifth Ward, we do have a big, broad vision that helps illuminate what we're doing. I'm running the criminals out. That includes the landlords. That includes the city inspector that shows up and doesn't do his job. That includes the people who don't take the trash out when they're supposed to. That is not a small thing. We all have seen trash weaponized. When it's a dumpster and when it stays for weeks and weeks. Literally, we were talking to a gentleman the other day, yesterday, who was describing how he went to take his car to work and there was a dead body next to his car. The reason that happened was he was in a building where the landlord didn't consistently have the lights on outside. He didn't have the conditions inside were so bad, the building was half empty. So whether you're going to do a property crime or you want to shoot up or you want to do something else, this is exactly, You're drawing the element that then we all say, what are we going to do about these bad individual actors? Well, what about the property? And as long as we're on, I'm going to say this is Catalyst Realty. For anybody who wants to know the people we're talking about, this is a Catalyst Realty building, and you can see news stories about Catalyst Realty if you Google right now. These are these people. This is not abstract. These are the people we're going to be going after. You create the conditions. You're the first criminal. You're the prime mover of the criminal element. And so somebody went into that dark parking lot that was half empty with a dumpster overflowing with garbage and thought, I'll shoot up here. And they overdosed and they died. Really right next to this car. We were looking at a photograph of it yesterday. There are so many levels of tragedy there. And if we continue to pretend that the engineered narrative is the real narrative and that it's, black folks causing problems or whatever, this guy's going to work. He didn't do a thing. There was nothing that anyone in that building did that contributed to this problem, and they tried to fix it. Who were the people who were, in this case, criminally liable, in my opinion? The people who didn't take the trash when they should have, the landlords and the property owners and the local aldermen who should have gotten on the building inspectors when they didn't show up when 311 was called over and over and over again about this stuff. So it's engineered. Black neighborhoods are never invested in. They are always have wealth extracted from them, no matter what the scenario is. And so you've got to have a strategy that combats that. And we can get a little bit into, we've got an approach that we think is going to help to deal with it. But we've got to recognize we're at war. Because people are assaulting us. And when I say us, I'm not, posing as a freedman. There's been some conversation about that because we have a freedman first hashtag. I'm talking about my family and the people I love and care about and the people around me. And so, yeah, it is us because this is where I live. My neighborhood's 85% black. Woodlawn is 85% black. South Shore is 95% black. That's where our office is. And I've made a bunch of friends in that office in the time that I've been there. So we got to be in this fight together.
I can't thank you enough. We'll be 2 hours and 10 minutes. I feel this has been so epic. I do want you to highlight a few of the policies. And I don't really care about what you're doing for everybody else. I just want to hear for a damn change what's going to happen specifically for my people in the Chi, whom I love. My people know I love them freedmen strong. So if you could just take a few minutes, yes. I mean, we may go a little over to close out, but I want you to give some highlights concerning education. You touched on housing. If you had something more to contribute to that, I want to touch on crime and this not so new slavery in the private prison industrial. What are you doing to end qualified immunity? If I've got to see one more video of my people being annihilated, like it's a blockbuster feature, I really don't know what I may just, I don't know, go running through the streets and go postal. Let me not say that. I'm on ScrewTube. They'll shut me down. Go ahead, Cynthia. You want to interject something?
Yeah, I do apologize, but I'm going to have to jump soon.
Okay.
But before I did, I wanted because I want Gabe to go ahead and lay out his policy, and then I want Arthur to be able to rant more. But
yes.
Don't look at me like that. You know you like to rant. Anyway, but
freedom absolute, baby. Freedom absolute.
That's what you do. Right before
read
you
his latest piece, everybody. Read his latest piece.
Yeah, it's good. And yes, baby, I did get a chance to read it. But read the last piece. And he always prefaced all of his blogs with a bottle of wine that he's drinking that time. Never shares it with me. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Anywho.
You're going to pay for that, Cynthia.
I know. I do it out of love. Anyway,
he just sent you roses.
Listen, Even Arthur has said to me in our conversations, like, you know, he'll say something to me and then he'll like give me a jab, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. And he said, Cynthia, I just love to fuck with you. And I'm like, you know what?
Later.
Right. I was just like, ditto. But anyway, so that's just like the back and forth that is our relationship. But anyway, let's get back on task. So yes. Tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, we are having a phone bank meeting. So I have the Zoom call already set up. And the way that you are able to volunteer, if you are wanting to, because yes, we need money. That's always going to be a thing. But we need volunteers too, because we literally have a little over a week left before the actual election. And that is on February 28th. So we need all hands on deck as much as possible in order to get out the word that we need Gabe in office. So if you would please go to gabe45.com and then go click on volunteer if you want to be included in that particular phone banking meeting. I'm going to start it, but we do actually have a phone bank manager who's going to explain the system and then send you off and running so that you can go ahead and make calls for Gabe, so that we can get as many people who are voting in the 5th ward out to the polls as much as possible so we can get them in office. So please go to gabe45.com, select volunteer, send all of your information, including your email address. Once we get that information, I'll make sure that it is included in the invite to the Zoom call so that we can get you trained to make phone calls and send you off and running to the races. Yes, because we need Gabe in the 5th ward for Friedman. Gabe for 5 for Friedman.
Real talk.
Yes.
Well, also no, family, I'm on the West Coast. Listen, fam, this is the only way we're going to be able to get people who are giving deliverables, tangibles, as y'all like to call them, right, to American freedmen is, I may live in Cali, but that's what we as the contemporary reparations grassroots movement does. Arthur and them call into the task force hearings. Like, we're helping lift all over the country. Oh, he's growing up so big now. He just woke from a nap.
Hey,
I
buddy.
can tell that little
Yeah,
sleepy
you can
little.
tell by his face. Yeah.
I mean, he don't even know what mama he chose, okay? A real revolutionary. He about to find out.
He's the
But
future
anywho,
little senator.
they go till 9 Central. So even when I get off of work tomorrow, I'll be making dials every day that I can to help push Gabe out. So please donate, volunteer at that site. I just want you to know that you don't have to live in the 5th ward to help in these efforts. We need all hands on deck. And let me tell you another victory. Asun Powell, as a part of Capital Accountability Project out of the DMV, she got her Republican mayoral candidate, Stacia Hall, from 4,000 to 20,000. Oh, thank you, Ron, for your super chat. Much appreciated, fam. She actually got, and that's going to you, Gabe. I have something I'm putting together to donate to you after this broadcast. But any contributions to the Cash App or the super chat, I'm going to give to Gabe for his campaign. So thank you for that. But anywho, she got Stacia from 4,000 to 23,000 votes in 2 weeks with no money. And I think 3 to 5 people, boots on the ground, just going throughout the community, paper in the community, door to door, talking to people in the grocery stores, everywhere. That's how impactful we can be. We don't have to be large, but we must be mighty. We must be laser focused because we're going down to the stretch. And do know that votes win this election. So Asun has proven to me, because they didn't have no money. that they got boots on the ground, real serious in that last stretch, and push Stacia up there in a magnanimous way. And I know we can do the same for Gabe. So with that being said, Cynthia, let me let you go so me and Gabe and Arthur can finish this. I can't thank you enough, my sister from another mister. I really, hi, baby. Mwah, 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 mwah. I wish I was there to give him some sugar. I love the babies. This is who we're doing it for, right? This is who we're doing it for, so that he can have a future worth living in the country of his ancestors. So, sis, I'll be hearing you on the call. Give me my instructions on how to hit the ground with my calls. I'm off at 5:30 Pacific, but I'll be right on the horn as soon as possible to get instruction. And I'll make sure to volunteer on the site when I give a donation.
And also just want to let people know that even if you're not able to make that meeting, that's fine. Between myself and the phone bank campaign manager, we will reach out to you to give you instructions on how to use the phone banking system. Myself, Marlon, Arthur, Gabe, doesn't matter. We all won.
Yes,
we all won. Right.
Yes,
Maybe this little one is talking to you, but he don't talk yet. He just say words. But but yeah, but we will get in contact with you in order to like tell you how to use the phone banking system that makes sense, you know, time wise for you, and then you know send you off and running, because like right now it's like really on all hands on deck. And I do see Harmony Browning saying that yes, I live in South Shore.
Oh, Harmony.
Well, Harmony, well, bless your heart, Harmony. we need you if you are willing to volunteer to get the word out as far as like Gabe's run, and talk to your neighbors and your fellow people to come out to the polls. Early voting is now, if I'm not mistaken. So
yes,
so you don't have to wait. If you're in the 5th ward and you want to go ahead and vote for Gabe, you can come on out. You can do it right
63rd and Stony for folks who want to early vote.
Yes, if you want to early vote,
63rd at Stony Island. Yes.
Mm-hmm. The YMCA at Stony Island.
And on your way, as you're going, you'll see a bunch of people with like stuff to vote for other people. Ask them why they won't say the word reparations. Just ask them that and keep walking. When you see someone with the 5th ward,
why your candidate or I have to add this, why your candidate gets upset when they hear a white man speaking about reparations and your black candidate ain't doing it. That part.
Can you spell Stony? Is it STONEY?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, Stony Island. STONEY.
No, SOSTONY.
It's
no,
it's just, no, drop the E.
I'm sorry, drop the E.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna jump.
Is it called Stony Island?
Yes.
And it's at the corner of 63rd and Stony Island.
Stony Island. Mm-hmm.
Yes, if you're in the 5th ward, you know the Y on Stony Island. It's just south of Hyde Park Academy.
Right.
And it's across
Is
from.
that what they call it now? This was Hyde Park High School, but that's okay.
Yeah, they changed it. I know, it was Hyde Park High forever.
All right. Well, okay. Well, thank you, Angela, for allowing us to come on. You guys keep on the conversation. Gabe for 5.
Yes.
Put up your 5 fingers, babe. Just real quick. Like whatever. Give me a bottle.
I love it. Snacks for 5.
Put the power fist.
Right.
Thank you, Cynthia. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you so much.
All right, little senator. We'll see you later.
That's right. Our first freedman president.
That's right there. If you don't mind, I'll jump into some of these policies, but I'll try to be as succinct as possible. So first of all, education, I think, is really interesting. And again, Angela, we need to have a whole other conversation, because our public education system is a disaster. We have to close down the charter school system, but I don't assume that all charter schools are worse than public schools. So a lot of people will say dismantle the charter school system, but some Black folks have figured out a way to adapt that charter school system. So there are a few charters that are functioning in a way that helps the kids in those schools. For ones that don't, there's these no excuses charter schools. I can't stand them, because they really criminalize all of the Black kids, and it's a disaster. That's a whole different thing. So they have to be shut down. The charter schools that are working, especially in our community, where someone says, this charter school is good, we like this school, we should keep them. We got to figure out a different way to treat them, because charter schools are sucking the lifeblood out of regular public schools. We also have to eliminate other forms of subsidy. There's something called TIFs, which is a complicated thing, but it's basically a funding mechanism that usually goes to developers that takes resources out of public schools. We have to wind that down too. However, what we need to recognize, yes, Harmony, I completely agree with you that a lot of people, it's the status quo. They're like, because the alternative could be worse. And I recognize why, because in Chicago, often the alternative does end up being worse. We have to recognize that there's not a school system supported by the government that has helped Black folks in a very long time. As soon as we start to integrate public schools started to get dismantled as an actual public service. And I think that's just, a pretty, in Chicago, a pretty self-evident thing. So we need to support homeschooling for Black folks. We need to support the charter schools that work. I have a problem with Catholic private schools, but again, that could be a whole different conversation. I'm just going to leave that alone and say, I don't love them, but if that's what people are using, we got to be careful in transitioning to a better education system, because it is true that if you try to do something, any changes you try to make in the public school system is going to have to be citywide. And when you try to reform in America, in Chicago, white folks get improvements. Some other folks that are, brown or, another minority group will get a little improvement, and Black folks won't get anything, or it'll get worse. So it's just, it's like you're always diffusing a bomb when you try to make these things work. So you've got to just be careful. I like community schools as a model, which brings the community into the school more, because I think the more local advocacy you have, the more you can hold on to the stuff that's good, especially a good teacher or a good principal. But again, you want to work very carefully. So education is complicated. I should have just said that and moved on. Economics, this is where we really need to talk, because the economics infrastructure in our communities has been ruptured, because when you rupture the economic infrastructure, you rupture the political infrastructure. And that's the model that's been used in Black communities forever. So the way you rebuild that is, I have a strategy I think you do Main Street reconstruction. And in doing that, you create those local jobs, but you got to do it in a way that seals off the economic system. So we've got an approach where we want to create a B corporation, and that's a benefit corporation. I don't want to get too much into detail, but there are most corporations are designed to not help people. And so, of course, they disproportionately do damage to Black folks. Benefit corporations are a model that hasn't been corrupted yet. It's sort of like the charter system for credit unions. It still actually functions to help folks across a range of incomes, and it doesn't have sort of the built-in regulatory power that banks have to stop you from helping Black folks. So you can use a B corporation to seal off a lot of the work that needs to get done in a community. And just like people will say they're starting a community development corporation, or they're starting some kind of a co-op, and their intent is to help the community, but it does not. Because in the end, you're still giving power over to people outside the community. What a corporation can do is distribute stock, and stock is control. And America understands shareholder power and protects that, because there's so much bound into it. So a B corporation you can charter to make only local improvements. So you measure whether it's a successful corporation or not by whether it's investing back in the community, and you give. And so our plan is we create the B corporation. The heavy lifting that has to happen through some corporate entity happens through that. And freedmen everyone who lives in the communities gets shares of the stock. And if you're a freedman who can establish your lineage, you get a larger percentage of shares. And right now we're playing with a 1-to-10 ratio. So if everyone else gets 100 shares, freedmen get 1,000 shares. And I mean per freedman in a household. So you have an infant in your household, they're getting 1,000 shares. And if you have a family of 8, they have 8,000 shares. That's it. You've got to do it in that way, because part of what you're going to generate out of that is some profit that should go to shareholders, but that also is going to create shareholder value that people can hold on to. So we're building assets right away, and we're also preventing. Normally, when governments come in and say, we're going to help your community, and it's a Black community, $100 million show up, but you never see it. It's like magic, because what happens is an outside corporation goes in, they give a bunch of land that used to belong to Black folks to that corporation. That corporation hires a bunch of people from outside the community to build whatever they're building. They put stuff in it that competes with the Black-owned stuff, whether it's stores or, you know, some kind of a commercial operation or whatever. Every step of the way extracts wealth from Black folks because there's an external corporate entity that's a part of that formula. We're going to seal that off. And we're going to say, as we do development through this corporation. And we're also going to have other entities that are going to help with this. And we have a specific kind of formula for building the Main Street, but I really don't want to make it overly complicated. I just want to say we're going to build up commerce. As it's built up, it's going to funnel through this B corporation. People are going to literally be able to profit and control what happens. So let's say I get hit by a bus or I become corrupt. Both of those things are entirely plausible. I try to pull something, the corporation stops it from happening because it owns all of the development we're doing. And that, you know, generally that's the issue, is that people say, trust me, I'm going to take care of your needs. And that's not, it is reasonable for Black folks to say that never works out that way. So you've got to come up with some kind of a strategy that says, instead of, you know, take my word for it, take these shares for it. And if I do wrong, you're going to block me. I'm not going to be able to do that. And because we're establishing a Freedmen's Bureau explicitly designed to advocate for freedmen to build political power, I'm gone. Once somebody starts to do wrong, whether it's me or the local senator or the local state representative, we are building political power from day one, and honestly, from before day one, because we have right now, Arthur Ward is right underneath here. Marlon is out there doing, I don't know what, but he's with me all the time. We are immediately building political power for freedmen in real time, in real space. That it's the only way to do it. If this model works, and I think it is, at the very least, it's one that can be tinkered with, and we can make corrections and whatnot. There may be flaws in the approach. It goes everywhere. There's nothing about it that's unique to Chicago. It can be, we can replicate from the day I called Marlon to the day we cut the ribbon on the Freedmen's Bureau and everything that happens afterwards, and we can open this up. It becomes a turnkey model. It becomes a turnkey model. This is all the wisdom that I've gotten from, well, my own experience, sure, but from so many generous freedmen who believe that because reparations is critically important, that they are going to pour all their knowledge into the community. I have sopped that up as a reparationist, and I'm just trying to give it back because I want people to be able to say that I've done something, you know, decent and worthwhile with my life. And I want my grandkids to be able to say, well, you know, my grandfather fought for reparations, and not just, you know, wrote a letter to the editor. That's it. I'm at that point, Angela. I'm past 50. So now I got more years behind me than ahead of me. And I think about that. I do. You know, I think about how am I going to, you know,
your legacy
point. Yeah. Am I going to feel like I wasted my life, you know, or am I going to feel like I did something and feel good about it? And like I said at the very beginning, I don't understand why everyone isn't fighting for reparations, because at least you did one decent thing with your life. No matter what else you did with your life, if you did something to address the foundational crime of our country, that's a pretty important thing to be a part of.
I believe so too. I'm family. Listen, I don't want to detain Gabe. He is such a busy man in high demand. I don't care about detaining A-Dub, but
man, Arthur,
he owes me. He hasn't been over here so long. I forgot what he looked like.
Wow, baby.
But
that's looking.
Like, you look younger and younger.
Really?
You're like a regular Benjamin Button. You know, like
it's clean living, Angela.
Aging backwards. But I do want to thank you. I want you guys to check out Gabe's site. Let me just share it real quick. He's got a lot going on over here. I want you to see all the other issues that you could read on since we're out of time. I mean, we're over time, truly. Hold on one second. I'm going to stay with my co-host, but if you two have to go, I overstand because I want to, they're my co-hosts, and I try to go through and read the pertinent chats and respond to any questions or comments, but I'm not going to detain you guys with that part. But let me share my screen. I want to show you guys this beautiful site. These are all the issues he's tackling. Okay, do you see that? So if you want to know about any of these issues, I'll ramble them off real quick if you're not watching the screen and you happen to be driving. He's got a section on reparations and reparative justice. I mean, it's square number one, okay? And then if we go down, it's economics, electoral reform, education, animal welfare, public safety, public spaces, parks. He's got something for seniors, y'all. He's got, this box is hiding, the human right to housing, okay? Employment, local deliberative democracy, city finances, environment, preservation, for young people, health, transit equity, quality internet access, OPC in the golf course, policing, business, and he's even open to you adding your own ideas after you read through these offerings here. Okay, this is rich. This is epic. Here, as you see at the top, there's a donate button. Here's a volunteer button. If you don't have the kind that folds, please be a volunteer. You have to understand, family, we got no help coming. Okay? Nobody's coming. If we want for our circumstances to change, it's paramount that each and every one of us get involved. And if we can't do so financially, please, please, please volunteer, and let's lock down Ward 5 for Gabe and blow it out. They've got about 10 other people running. So it's anybody's race at this point. And I'm saying we're a large enough movement that we can get this done, akin to what Hassan did in the DMV. So please, please, please come over here, gatefor5.com, and donate, volunteer, and even subscribe to follow his campaign, because it is my prayer that this will be the blueprint for how we get things done locally, which is the only way for us to get anything immediate. We cannot wait for the feds to get it right on reparations. Hell, I've just shared with you how you can't even trust the states to do it, because it is truly an oxymoron to be for illegal immigration and even legal immigration and reparations. They're diametrically opposed, family. Don't be duped. Don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. And please, 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 stop voting blue no matter who, to our peril. I've shared with you the video of what's happening to us with this immigration. And I really don't care what you think about Trump personally and his mean tweets, but I can tell you this. Here in the state of California, our unemployment was around 5% when Trump was in office. Now that 86% of our electorate have voted for the Biden administration, our unemployment here in the state of California, it supersedes 20%. And also, Trump was not for all this war. I'm in a panic every day over what's flying over the country next that they have to shoot down that they're not telling us anything about. I'm very mortified over the reparations dollars that they're spending on Ukraine, on the refugees, on the immigrants. And I don't care about Trump's mean tweets as much as I care about us flourishing. It's not a party thing for me. It's a Freedman flourishing thing. So please go through and find your candidates who are for closed borders and for ending the threat of nuclear war on our people. With that being said, Gabe, did you have any closing remarks so I can bid you adieu? Arthur, if you have to go, that's cool. I'm going to go and sit with my fans, my viewers here, my co-hosts, because I haven't seen them in so long. I just want to go through some of their comments and help them get some understanding.
Right. No,
so if you have to go, that's cool.
Yeah.
Huh?
No, I'm leaving at the same time Gabe leaves.
Okay, wonderful. So any parting word? Let me let you go first, and let me have Gabe.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Arthur. Go for it, fam. What do you, in closing, what do you have to share?
Well,
and then Gabe can be the
you have to
exclamation point.
understand too that we've had 2 homestead acts and 2 homestead migrations, and each time that happened, that was actually to get in front of the Black people, for more people to come from other places to assist in keeping us at the bottom. Now, what we're experiencing right now is a 3rd homestead act. They're not calling it that, but that's what it is. Primarily Latino, with Asians and East Indians acting as buffer classes, and then Africans and Caribbeans acting as the bottom of that buffer class. And that's what's going on. So they may not replace Black people, but what they will do is they will get rid of us to replace us with Black people that are more in line with the purposes of white supremacy. So that's all I got to do. And this is how we've been laying down too long. We've been disunified too long. And this is the last phase. We are on our way out unless we get it together. And that's all I got to say.
How can they reach you, Arthur?
They can reach me by email, Arthur, ARTHUR, Ward, WARD 777 at gmail.com. They can also comment on my blog, freedmanabsolute.com. And I'm also on Twitter at Apanage, APANAGE 21.
Hold on, that's Twitter at Apanage 21.
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting it in the chat so they'll be able to find you when people watch the archive. That's kind of, my viewers kind of trickle in. They don't all come in at once.
Do you have freedmanabsolute.com in there too?
Absolutely. It's Friedman with an E, right, Arthur?
Right. Friedman
and Absolute with no E.
Right. Well, Absolute with an E. Absolute.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah. Freeman blog. Okay, great. Thank you so much. And Gabe, let me hear from you. Your closing words.
More gratitude than anything, Angela. Really, I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate everybody. I mean, the outpouring of support by the community. I understand that there are people who are apprehensive. There are people who don't know me, so they don't trust me, and it's justifiable. Like, there's no question about it that I have said in spaces, do not trust white people. And then if everyone blows up, like, see, well, how can we trust you? And I can only ask that, use discernment. I mean, as a rule, if you walk into a room and there's 3 white men, maybe walk out of the room. But what I'm saying is, if I'm one of them, maybe it'll be all right. Nevertheless, as much of that kind of energy that's concerned and skeptical, and then people who are just, they just trying to create a little chaos, there has also been an equal amount across the country of people who recognize what we're doing, see that I'm the face of this. We have a unique circumstance in the 5th Ward. And so it makes sense for me to be the face of this particular campaign, but that there are people not behind me, but next to me. And that when I talk about when we win, I'm not talking royal we. I mean, literally, Marlon and I have talked about this. We have a building picked out that we like for the ward office and for the Freedmen's Bureau. They will be next to each other. There will be a door that will be built between them, because that's how this is going to work. Freedmen First isn't like a clever thing. I've been involved and gone through stuff because I've been involved with this movement for years. And I don't say that to try to get sympathy or get people to feel any kind of way. I'm saying it just to say, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. And, Marlon was saying before, it's like we have a meeting of the minds. Like, we know what we're going to do and we're going to go forward, and it's going to go on past this campaign. I hope and pray that we're successful, because if we can do this, I become the tool for everyone in the country to say, get your Chicago newspaper. We'll mail them out to everyone with my little photo on it. So you can go to your local elected officials and say, this white man got elected talking about reparations. What's wrong with you? And we can push everybody to do this. And we can replicate also with other allies and say, don't be afraid. because a lot of times what happens is people are convinced. Y'all know the conversations when Black folks aren't around, what they're like. So it's like, look, you can't trust these people to, to get across by working with these folks because there's too much against them. It's just easier to work with the system. That probably the most dangerous phrase, dangerous anti-Black phrase that happens in like white and Latino rooms is, it's just too hard. Yeah, you could do good things for Black folks, but it's just too hard. Like, let's just go the way we've been going. I'm not, yes, Harmony, and I love you still. And I know you love R. Kelly too. And I appreciate you. You're a good woman. And my thing is, like, let's do that. Let's show the power of the movement. And with that power, show people what's possible. But no matter what, we're going forward. And I hope over time that some of my skeptics will become people who see that I'm sincere. But no matter what, Angela, what a wonderful opportunity to be invited on here and to talk with you. Rich. And I appreciate you so much. You're a history maker. I just am so humbled to be in your presence. So thank you for this time so much.
I appreciate you so much, Gabe. And I'll see you on the campaign trail. I'll be making my dials and my donation. Thank you again, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm going to keep your campaign lifted and continue to push in my spaces for your election.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
All right. Have a great rest of your evening. Well, family, so much for finishing in 2 hours. But hey, we had a lot to talk about. Y'all know I was born to talk. So let's get through some of your comments. I'm so grateful to see you. I'm going to shout y'all out as I read through some of the more pertinent comments, okay? Because I don't want to be here and make it a 5-hour video. I've just been away for so long that I want to spend a little time with my co-host and get through some of your questions and your comments. I just thank you guys for showing up because I haven't been here for a while. Just know Freedman life is happening when you don't see me. It's not going to really level out for me until around April when I'm done with some of these certifications. Then I'll be back a lot more regularly, okay? But in the meantime, more than likely, this is the window that you'll see me. Queen Mommy, I love you. I love your truth. My sister, we must keep putting it out for the world to see. Absolutely, Queen Mommy. Thank you so much. Thank you, Trey, for joining the live. Kirel Hill. Hi, my love. Welcome. Okay. What's up, The Rock? Angela, my sis, where you been? The Rock missed you. Oh, family, I missed you guys too. I got new employment with a Freedman company of 23 years. I thank God for the Freedman-owned company. I've been blessed to have gainful employment. My prior company that got hit hard by the pandemic, was 2/3 Black-owned, Freedman-owned, and the one I'm currently working with is Freedman-owned. But it's a lot more intense than the prior position I had, where I had to know a series of laws for one jurisdiction. Now I've got 5 jurisdictions to learn. So I'll be spotty, like I'm intending to come back at the top of March for the Reparations Task Force hearings. They're going to Sacramento. I won't be able to go to Sacramento. I've got to work. Praise God. It's hard out here for our people. That's ergo this broadcast tonight to talk about immigration and to continue to push against it. But yeah, so I won't be there. But it's my intent on Saturday to stream it live, and prayerfully, I'll get to make public comments. And I'll get 3 minutes to do it. But child, you never know how these things are going to go when you don't show live. They kind of treat you like, a redheaded stepchild, honey. But yeah, that's where I've been. I've been on my grind, family. It gets to a place where we've actually got to put the mask on ourselves, okay? You got to do the work too. And I know that we're stretched very thin and we're all over the place trying to take care of family and the movement. But you have to strike a balance. And so when you don't see me, I'm entrenched in making sure I hold on to my assets and grow them exponentially so I can bequeath my daughter and my grands one day with generational inheritable wealth, because I don't know when the reparations are coming. Okay, I know that they'll eventually come, but I don't know when. Easy X, oh my gosh, thank you so much for being here, family. Oh, thank you, Queen Mommy. She's new to my channel. Oh, speaking of which, Queen Mommy, thank you to all of my subs. Okay, so since I can't go live, what I've been doing is putting a bunch of rich posts in Twitter, in ScrewTube, and Facebook. And I think in the time I've been down for a few weeks, I gained another 100 subs. I didn't even have to talk. I didn't even have to beg. I did nothing. Oh, let me fly my banner. I forgot to fly the banner. Yes, Felly. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. But yes, Queen Mommy, I got a lot of you as my new subbies, about 100 of you in the past couple of weeks. So praise God that even though I couldn't go live due to work, you guys kept subbing. I am so grateful to you for supporting my voice on behalf of American freedmen. It is just rich and epic that you guys entrust me with that honor and that privilege. Thank you. Okay, so Yaira says she's cooking and cleaning. She couldn't welcome and salute each of you individually. The Rock says, we need as a people to vote policy, not race nor party, Angela. Family, how many policies out there? I mean, besides Gabe. Family, I'm going to have to, I get what you're saying, but nobody has policies for us. And when they claim to have policies for us, they're only grifting for our votes. Hello, the Joe Crow administration, who promised to, well, I don't know if they really promised, but they weaponized Mr. George Floyd's execution and dangled the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act in front of us to get us sheep walking to the polls. So I'm saying that they lie, family. They're going to lie to get you to continue voting for your erasure and replacement. And so when you know you're dealing with liars, you try to find something tangible in there for you. Okay? And what I'm saying is, under Trump, we did not have this full court press wherein immigration is concerned and our erasure and replacement. No, that's happening under the Democrats right now. So you guys have got to shift your minds on this issue with me. And if you don't understand what I'm talking about, just rewind the tape. At the top, I'm showing you a beautiful, what seems to be a freedman sister in El Paso crying that she's being discriminated against. She can't get a job. How is she ever supposed to be able to have home ownership or do any of the things that I've been privileged to? But it appears that even people in the Gen X, which I'm a Gen Xer, and especially the ones behind me, the millennials and the Gen Zs, don't stand a snowball chance in hell if we don't reach for something tangible in the policies we've got right now. And you got rhinos working with left liberal leaning Democrats to undermine, erase, and replace us. We are simply out of time to be withholding the vote for a policy that ain't coming, especially now that the country has been flooded with immigrants, because they are the ones who are taking over office at every branch of government. And they are our Crayola wanton white supremacists. So you've got to stop looking for a policy and stop this nonsense train to nowhere of no tangibles, no vote. And the people that are pushing that are pushing for our annihilation with our own vote. They're pushing for us to be ethno-genocided right about the country. And these people call themselves a part of the reparations movement. They're nothing but grifters looking to undermine the reparations movement and looking to see us be reduced to as few in number as the Native American Indians. It's already happening. Anytime folks can sit up here and tell you that we're going to run the Tyree Nichols execution by 5 Crayola, wanton white supremacist race soldiers as if they're premiering Avatar or something of this nature, Houston, we've got a problem. So The Rock, I understand that you want policies, but what I'm trying to help you understand is you've got nothing coming until you bring the Democrats to their knees for several election cycles for their intentional neglect of American freedmen who descend from U.S. chattel slavery, whose ancestors built the wealth all these groups eat from with their lives. You continue to give away your vote for policies that ain't coming, it's lights out for American freedmen. So weaponize the vote. Hi, Ron. Thanks again for your blessing to the broadcast. Ron says the establishment does not push back on Asians, Mexicans, Jews, and others as much as they do on Blacks. That's their very reason. That's the very reason we are here. Absolutely, Ron. We have no friends. So if you haven't figured that out already, we have no friends. It's up to us to help us. We are all we've got. Okay. So we've got to band together. We've got to help. We've got to donate. We've got to volunteer all throughout the country where we see candidates like Gabe fighting hard for reparative justice for us right now. Because if we wait for reparations, there'll be a handful of us here. And that's the goal. Quite frankly, I think that's the goal here in California. We're down from 6.5 to 2 million. How many more have to be legislated about the state before they actually deliver any form of reparations? Seriously. They're already going to do another extension. Let's see here. Okay, Easy Axe is saying Yvette said the same things this gentleman is saying, and she was ostracized and demonized by Coons and other ADOS. It's politics, people, not skin color. Easy Axe, concerning Yvette, she imploded the movement. Okay. I've got archives on this issue, fam. I don't know when you got here. I've seen your name around for a long time, but I'm here to tell you, nobody ostracized or undermined or demonized Yvette. She did this to herself. She imploded an entire movement. Okay, I'm not going to get into that here. I do want you to go and check the archives if you want more history on that. It's in there, over 300 videos, honey. So, no, I got what you were saying about skin. Hi, OL Griffin. I see you, fam. Good to have you in the space. U.S. Black Americans need to vote interest in policy and not race, family. Angela posts this message. Yeah, well, you're absolutely correct. You can't vote race. I mean, you see a bunch of skin folk that ain't doing anything for us. They're in office and they're doing absolutely nothing for us but assisting in the ethno-genocidal plans to erase and replace us. So yeah, I'm saying that the best policy we've got right now is a president who believes in closed borders and an end to the threat of nuclear war. Everybody should know who that is. You know. Oh, I wish I had seen that Easy Axe asking for Arthur's wine recommendations. Oh, he did give it. Okay, Apothic Dark. Make sure you subscribe to freedmanabsolute.com. Arthur Ward is an amazing blogger. Ron says interest in policy is tied to our identity. That's why the term identity politics is so. Oh, do I have to get my glasses? Because Lord knows I'm having a hard time seeing that. That's why the term identity politics is so attacked. There is power in it. Now, I call it identity politricks because people are literally tricking us to the polls on the strength of that they look like us or that they're black like us, okay? So let's stop falling for the identity politricks. If they don't have putting a moratorium on legal immigration and closing these borders on their platform, you can't vote for them just because they look like you. We've got to stop that. It is really upending us, family. Hi, baby. I see you, fam. So let's see here. I'm just going through and picking up the pertinent comments. Najee Hall. It's some heavy hitters in the room. Yes. Yes. You're absolutely right. Cynthia was lobbing truth bombs. Yes, she was, family, always. These are my comrades from my humble beginnings in the reparations fight. Okay? These are my comrades. I'm so proud, as are many of you. Y'all been here some of y'all been here since the beginning. You saved her from that. That's not that's not pertinent. Let me just try to read them first before I post them. Ron says our voting choices are scant. Yeah, you're right. There are those who seek to harm us through policy and those who choose to do nothing. Yes, Ron, and that's why I'm saying that you got to find the closed border anti-war candidates. And you got to be courageous and you have to vote them into office. It's not a party thing. It's a Freedman flourishing thing. And they won't be any more racist than Joe Crow and Kabami. I can promise you that. Okay. O.L. Griffith says, I keep receipts. I think he was talking to Marlon. If you're going to do it, you might want the screen grabs. I got them. Yeah, I think we need a book on the history because a lot of the new people don't know. OG, they don't know. They don't know the TR root. Maybe we need to turn out and register in record numbers and market our political potential. Oh, we must do that. We don't have a choice. And we need to be doing it right now all over the country. And we need to be having town halls and the whole 9 yards. I'm just trying to get through this hump with my new employment. And I'm intending to do that with my comrades here in SoCal. But if we don't do it, we're done. If we don't do it, we're done. What's up, Tay Bay? I see you, fam. OG are here cutting up. Oh, thank you so much, Cosetta. Thank you. Like I mentioned prior, family, it'll be, spotty. The next time you'll probably see me is when I'm at the task force hearings in Sacramento. I'm going to bring that live to you on Saturday. Then I'll play Friday after that, like have a marathon of the task force hearings up in Sacramento. I'll be at work, so I can't do as I've done in the past when I was working from home. I was able to multitask and screen the task force hearings and do my my public comments and the whole 9 yards. I won't have that same luxury this time. I'm actually in an office now. This is great panel, Reparationists. Thank you for all you do. I thank y'all for being my co-hosts. You guys rock. Thank you for being here. Okay, I'm just going through getting the pertinent comments, y'all. Kinky Curly Straight Talk. I sure miss being over at my spiritual channel. I literally had to drop that at like day 12 of our weight loss, our spiritual weight loss journey together. I really pray after I get through this rough spot with these certifications with my company to be back on track with the spiritual channel. You guys, if you're interested in the spiritual weight loss series I was doing, visit Nirvana World TV, Metaphysically Speaking. It was rich and epic. And then I got employment and had to really just stop. Just too exhausted. I love you, BB. Thanks for being here. Gabe is making his rounds. I can respect that. Absolutely. Edison Wilson, thank you for joining the live. Key, deliver policy that makes sense. I can't wait to see what they do with Ward 5 once we get Gabe elected. We will do this, family. We don't have a choice. All hands on deck. Okay? Ron says, yes, there is a place for white people in the movement. Hell, the poor ones are in the same position we are in. They just look like the oppressor. They don't live like them. And to your point, Ron, they're even racist like them. But guess what? It's time for us to join forces with them to defeat immigration. The poor ones are hurt by it just like we are, especially when it comes to fentanyl lacing the drugs and things of this nature. White folks are dying the most from the opioid epidemic and the like. But yeah, we're dying from fentanyl and being laced by a lot of the drug dealers that they're allowing into the country and dropping them right into our communities. So we've got to join forces with whoever wants to ally with us. And yeah, we got more in common with MAGA than we do the rhinos. The rhinos are pretty much rolling with Joe Crow on giving 14 million DACA recipients citizenship. Let me pull that up real quick. Bipartisan citizenship, DACA. I'm going to share my screen, family. And I'm going to copy this and paste it in another site so I can read just a little bit. And make sure you guys can see my screen. Okay. I'm going to leave that up while I read over here. Just a little. This was February 3rd by Jane Hong. So you see what happens if you're waiting for tangibles in exchange for your vote. While you're sitting here waiting for tangibles in exchange for your vote, they're locking down government at every branch and having an opinion about it to lock us out of affirmative action, civil rights, and reparations. We'll never get it if we don't shoot a missile back. Their missile is immigration. So this article goes on to say, let me make it bigger because I don't know where my glasses are. I don't have time to go pick them up and find them. Americans' views on policies that provide a pathway to citizenship for undocumented migrants have become increasingly polarized along partisan lines over the past decade. PPRI data from 22 shows that Democrats have become more supportive of such policies since 2013, with support rising by 6 percentage points, while support among Republicans has dropped by a whopping 13 points. That said, support for a pathway to citizenship among Americans overall has never fallen under 50% in the past decade, which means that proponents have consistently been able to claim that a majority of Americans support the idea. Indeed, a longer look backward reveals a history of surprisingly enduring bipartisan support for the policy. This bipartisanship continues to manifest occasionally, including in a recent immigration bill sponsored by Senator Tom Tillis, who is a Republican, or rather a Republican out of North Carolina, and Senator Kristen Sinema, independent out of Arizona, at the end of the last Congress. The bill would provide a pathway to citizenship and regularized status for hundreds of thousands of undocumented immigrants who are currently in the U.S. under the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, DACA, thanks to Barack Obama, an interim policy enacted by President Obama in 2012, which stops short of allowing citizenship. However, the Tillis-Sinema proposal combines the pathway to citizenship with a number of draconian provisions that strengthen border control and extend Title 42, a Trump-era measure that allows for the expedited expulsion of migrants at the border on public health grounds, which was set to expire but has been kept in place by the Supreme Court. Okay? So, I don't know if they just being slick about it, because it's like and politics is just that, family. Let me come up here and make myself a little bigger. Politics is just that. They take both sides of an argument. Just like the Democrats create American freedmen problems and then want our vote to be the solution for our own ethno-genocide. So on one breath, therefore, these DACA recipients receiving citizenship, that's about 14 more million. Okay? They're trying to get them citizenship so that they can have the right to vote. And so by one stretch, therefore, legalizing those 14 million DACA recipients. And the flip side is they're foreclosing the borders and strengthening the borders. Well, I don't believe Trump would be for it at all. None of it. And this is what I mean by the rhinos working with these liberals to undermine us. Because we don't need 14 million more immigrants to get citizenship. We need a moratorium on legal immigration and to close the borders, kick all the illegals up out this piece until American freedmen are made American. That's what I'm voting for. That's what I voted for at the midterms. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to get out here and weaponize the vote, because the vote has become the bullet, has become the missile, is the ballot. Okay? I know I went over the river and through the woods to make that point, but okay. I had to interject that because it's kind of part and parcel of the energy with which the direction of this broadcast went from the gate when I jumped in and shared the beautiful sister who's hard-pressed to find work amongst the racist of El Paso, akin to what's happening to our people all over the country. What's wrong with state and federal reparations, Edison, is the fear that it won't be done to the degree that California is attempting to do it. Meaning, if you don't put a clause in there that states state repair does not usurp federal repair, by the time we get federal reparation, it'll be so watered down, it'll be a nothing burger altogether. So this is why Drs. William Sandy Darity and my panelists are against state repair. What Gabe is seeking in Chicago, 5th Ward, is reparative justice. So when you go to his website, you will see all of the ways in which he's intending to give freedmen specific policies and legislation so that we can be made American. Because we don't have, we don't know the day nor the hour that reparations is actually going to happen on a federal scale. So they're against it because they don't want it to water down the federal efforts in the trillions, okay? It's really in the quadrillions, but Dr. Darity's number, I think, is around 20 trillion. Not nearly enough for my taste, but I'm not the scholar. Who listens to me? Yes, Ron mentioned that whites can help by bringing other whites to the movement. Correct. And then Cynthia shared. Some of this I shared earlier, but I didn't get to talk about it. Evanston is the grifting program of Cam Howard and Ron Daniels. Absolutely. Now, I want to shout out the sister who came to our task force hearings. I got to find out her name because I really want to reach out to her. But she, I think, was a part of that Evanston debacle. And she's American Freedman, and she's speaking out and protesting against it because they labeled it reparations when it's nothing more than a housing voucher that about 16 freedmen qualify for, but can't even really use because it's stuck in red tape, as it should be, because it should have never been called reparations in the first place. They should have just called it a housing voucher because that's all it is. And Ron is right. Immigration is a Black replacement economic policy. Hi, Gwen XOXO. So good to see you, family. Tay Bay. KRT, cut the check. Yeah, family, we a long way from that, baby, but we still got to lean in, don't we? I like this Zadugu. 1, they're not taking care of their tribe. The American government is taking care of the immigrants, and I wanted to add to that with our reparations and protections. You see how they are conveniently dumping all of these illegals into Black communities, or what remains of the Black community. This is to erase and replace us with them, akin to the over-policing in our communities, akin to the Black on Black crime and murder and violence as a byproduct of the war on poverty, because that's what's happening. And that's historical in this country. It doesn't matter what line you rep. The bottom line is when you starve a people out, they generally tend to kill and steal from the people they live amongst. So even at that, you've got the Democrats, because this is happening in mostly democratically ran cities and states, to thank for how we got so lowly on the economic totem pole, on the educational totem pole, that now we're turning one unto another. It's really tragic, but that's government. And it's intentional neglect of American freedmen and what we need. Ron says something interesting here that really got to me. As a business person with 5 employees for 15 years, I will testify that having a business puts you even deeper in the well of racist ideology. You just have some money while you are there. I am just mortified, but I'm certain that what you're saying is absolutely true. And sadly, it's the only way our children are going to be able to get gainful employment. And I pray that you got the best and the brightest of our ilk, because even that's hard to find. Trying to find a freedman employer is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. And tragically, it can't be our only source of income, family. It cannot. It's not my only source of income. I've got other ventures that I'm working on, namely in real estate. So, because these jobs will never pay you enough to like really retire on much. So you must learn to become your own economy before and after reparations. And if you're in a position to hire another freedman, please do. Because that's what I intend to do. Ron says, remember, the same person that gave us Black capitalism also gave us the war on crime and the war on drugs, family. Absolutely. Urban renewal was urban removal, redlining, the atrocities. You would think at some point they'd get tired of waging war against us. They've not lost energy. They've gained more steam with our votes. Patty P was absolutely correct before she had to roll bounce. This is happening big in the tech industry. These jobs pay multiple six figures, and they're importing Kamala's people, East Indian Brahmin caste and Asians to take over in these industries. But guess what? That's not the only place it's happening, family. It's also happening in the public and private sectors. Okay? In the public and private sectors. One of my good girlfriends in the Bay Area works for the state. She answers to nobody but Indians, and they will not promote her. She's the most qualified. They'll use her to train everybody that they bring in to promote over her, but they will not give her a promotion. That's what I mean by it's happening at every level of the workforce. Tebe asks, does Gabe really understand who we are here in this country? That a lot of us are not from Africa. We are from here, and all of our stuff has been and still is being stolen from all of these groups. Oh, he overstands. He overstands, Tebe. He's been with the movement for some time, like since our inception. He's been a real ride or die. So he's been in Chicago politics for a long time. He knows specifically what's happening. And if you read his platform, you'll see his intentions to turn it around for us. Tebe is talking about reclassification. We're also Indians. That's true, Tebe. We do have, we are indigenous to this country long before Columbus, okay? And long before the Hispanic-looking Indians that we see. Same thing happened, right? Like in Africa, the continent, that happened in Europe. It happens everywhere where they just come in and they come up with their perilous plans to erase and replace us. So we are right now working to be named American freedmen, defined as descendants of U.S. chattel slavery. So we're fighting federally to get that done, but we've got our share of obstacles, but we're working through them. Yep, Tebe, this is our land, and they know it. Now, offense, Gabe, but let's be real, for real, for real. I think Gabe is serious. I'm putting my support behind him. We can't get weary. I know that we've been duped a lot and grifted a lot, but like I said, I saw my former ADOS movement comrades getting behind Gabe. That's why I had him on the broadcast. When I saw them on TD Hip Hop Media, I said, I need them here to help in their efforts to raise money and to get volunteers. So, you know, he wouldn't be here on the reparations perspective if he wasn't someone I believed in and whose campaign I believe in and who I believe can get reparative justice for American freedmen exclusively, even if in just Ward 5. That's a start. And that's the match that needs to be lit to start a forest fire all over the country, where we've got every locale working on behalf of American freedmen for reparative justice. This hurts terribly. America is no longer our home. Although we built it, that doesn't mean ish to the immigrants. Family, and it's never meant anything to the white folks. Welcome to the live, Carl Andrews. You must strengthen your resolve, family. Yeah, it's hurtful that we've now got to fight Crayola wanton white supremacists in all the groups. But at least we're awakened now and we're learning how to fight. And to me, the ballot has become the missile that you return. You've got to bring these Democrats to their knees for several election cycles for their intentional neglect of American freedmen. And until we do that, we got nothing coming. Not from these immigrants and not from these white folks, child. If I were an immigrant, I would exploit the system too. How can you blame them? I do the same thing if I move to a foreign country. I don't blame them at all, Carl. Let me repeat. I'm not anti-immigrant. I'm anti the weaponization. I'm anti the government's weaponization of immigration against American freedmen to our peril, to keep us bottom caste in the country our ancestors built with their lives. So I need everybody to know the difference, okay? I don't take issue with immigrants coming to a country that's freely giving away our reparations and protections to them. I take issue with our government's intentional neglect, and I show them my disdain and disgust at the polls. That's what I do. I don't stay home, as has been ill-advised by grifters in this movement. Hi, Scarlett. Bibi goes on to say, freedmen descendants must be fast-tracked housing in Chicago. A federal injunction should remedy any discrimination placed on freedmen descendants. Thank you, Bibi. Please make that comment, my love. Let me see. Can I copy and paste that? I don't think I can. No. Oh, I'm sleepy, y'all. I've been partying. I went last night to see the Isley Brothers and Frankie Beverly and Maze. Can you believe Maxine Waters is 84? She had been to 4 events before she came to the concert, in her heels and her suit, looking as fresh as if it were 12 noon. I was properly impressed. Ron Isley is, I want to say 81. And Frankie Beverly is 76. If you get an opportunity to see these cats, you've got to go check them out. Now, neither of them were as smooth as Smokey Robinson in terms of their vocals. But to see them up there doing their thing and delivering all they've got to the last drop, it's epic. It is epic, and you cannot miss that happening if it comes to a theater near you. Get out and support these cats. Diana Ross, too. She is amazing. I can't believe these older dolls and guys putting in that work. They got more energy than me. Okay? That's what happens when you're operating in your purpose and in your passion. But that's why I'm a little sleepy, because I was hanging out all night, kicking it with the likes of these incredible artists that God has blessed us with. They're winding up, family. Catch them when you can. But they about to go on home to glory. And you don't want to have missed them or say, I wanted to go see them and I didn't get a chance. BB, could you do me a favor and type this over on Gabe Piemonte's site? He wants additions, and this needs to be added. I can't copy and paste it right now. So if you're able to rewrite it over there at Gabe45, and it's spelled out, Gabe for 5, and 4 is spelled FOR. If you could go there and add this, I'd greatly appreciate it so I can keep the show rolling. Harmony Browning says, 45 had a sub-cabinet, Office of Black Americans, in his Platinum Plan for Black America. Jared Kushner was working with Dr. Claude Anderson to develop the Platinum Plan, but Goofy Blacks messed up the bag. Wow. Harmony, I didn't know that, my love. Wow. Can you send me any articles pertaining to that to the Reparations at Gmail. It's scrolling in the bar below. I'd like to bring that to the next time I'm here. Talk about it while we were on break at the task force hearings. Ron says, at Carl, we don't have to blame them. We do have to expose this cultural narrative that affects us in a way, in ways it does no other group. Absolutely, Ron. And I've been sounding the alarm, even though I'm being called a racist, which ain't even possible. I can't afford to oppress nobody. That's what a racist is. But this is the way they like to try to get you silent. They want you to just sit in the gas chamber to your death. And when you speak up, they call you racist, xenophobic, blah, blah, blah. Ron says, immigrants came to America to reclaim the wealth America extracted from them, and they do so at our expense. And unapologetically, they don't care if they have to wage war against us. They don't care. So didn't they sign treaties and things giving away their vested interest in the country? And so now that we've been used as the shoes to build the wealth they eat from, they want to come back and take the country over. And European wanting white supremacists are all too happy because they can't conceive. So they're all too happy to do to the Latinas what they did to the Irish, the Italians, even the Jews, right? Make them white. Make everybody white to justify not doing a damn thing for American freedmen. That's the game. Gwen says, Black women are going around knocking on neighbors' doors, asking if they could rent a room. Oh. This is, I'm sorry, Gwen. I'm sorry, viewers. Some things just knocked the wind out of me. That just did, because I know I know that we are the highest rates of evictions right now. And this just, it just did something to me. I apologize. If you're in a position to rent to someone that you trust, please do, especially the ones with children, especially our elderly. Please do what you can. And for God's sake, please vote to close the borders and to end the imminent threat of nuclear war. Party be damned. We are out of time. Scarlett says they only invest when they want to gentrify. You better know it. Harmony goes on to say that's a city of Chicago issue. Carl says we are supposed to be the people investing in Black communities. Yeah, family. We are supposed to be the people investing in Black communities, but you see clearly what they've done to us as a people. They've neutralized us economically, and now they're coming for our vote. and the rest is just outright war. It's not even safe to be in a Black community the way they have set the stage to execute our young Black men, women, and children who are unarmed. We've got to stop voting for this. We are voting for our own demise. They're about to make non-English speaking illegal immigrants police. Oh no, they're already doing that, Carl. They're already doing that out here. Illegals can be a part of the police force in California. Now they're going to Nevada, and there's one other place. Hold on, let's look at that. Prior to January 1, 23, you had to be a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident to qualify for the job as a policeman. Now that's no longer the case. Anyone who is legally authorized to work in the state of California under federal law with the proper green card or visa is eligible to become a police officer. So more of them will be getting in on the act of executing us with qualified immunity and impunity. With our vote, 86% of our electorate voted for this. Was this going on under Trump? I'll wait. Did you have in Trump what you have in Joe Crow, who used a George Floyd Justice and Policing Act to get American freedmen to sheepwalk to the polls? And then in the next breath say he wants to give how many billions of dollars to the race soldiers? How much money did Biden ask Congress for the police? Joe Crow in March of 28-22 proposed $32 billion in new spending to fight crime, not to bring jobs in the community, not to end redlining, not to end the preschool to prison pipeline. $32 billion for more race soldiers. And the only kind they're importing are anti-freedmen hating immigrants from all over the world. The most racist of refugees and immigrants to come into our communities to continue with qualified immunity to erase us, to be able to execute unarmed Black men, women, and children. And the ones they don't execute, they're going to put in the not so new prison called the private prison industrial complex. With our vote, no less. And so let me see where else it's legal. So that's California. They're definitely going to Nevada. And there's one, I want to say, is it Washington? Yeah, there's another state out this way where they can actually become the race soldiers. Everybody is going to be in on the act of executing us. Harmony, God bless you, family. She says, I'm working the election in Chicago on 2/28. So grateful to you, fam. Harmony goes on to say, benign neglect is government policy for Black America and the Congressional Black Caucus. And genocidal Judas. Genocidal Judas, something with the G. All black Democrats are. Harmony. Just a small correction. The neglect is not benign. It's very intentional. Okay, sweetheart. Let's make that trend. Thank you, Carl. This was an amazing discussion. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. I did too. It was rich and epic. Nothing will ever change in Chicago for Black people until Black people stop being scared of making a change. You're absolutely correct. Harmony says Black people were cheating in the last election for the Democrats. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I mean, they saw Barack Obama get in on the act during the primary. The Coon Clyburn get in on the act, and turn the vote for Joe Crow down in South Carolina. Of course, they're going to get in on the act to steal the election. And they may try it again this election cycle. But we got to show up in Barack Obama style numbers, family, and vote to close these borders. Y'all got to research who your candidates are so you will know who to vote for going in that booth. And you got to look beyond all their other racist stuff, regrettably. We're at war, and the Democrats have waged war against American freedmen exclusively. Whenever the Democrats are in charge, we're the only ones in distress. Have you ever noticed that? When Trump was in office, it was equal opportunity. Everybody got that work. And my misery concerning my people loves company. Build generational wealth. And until before and after reparations, this is what we've got to do. Like our ancestors did from nothing. Harmony, I would like you as well to post your comments on Gabe's website so that he can see your ideas. He's welcoming them on his website. CTU Local 1 is a political organization. 1 out of every 10 Black students in Chicago can read at grade level. Yes, BB. Thank you, Gabe. Harmony says 53 Illinois high schools failed to achieve grade level proficiency in math. What? They're setting our kids up to be the slave labor in these private prisons. A closed border will not stop the influx. Too many people are making a lot of money because of illegal immigration. Well, under Trump, he was kicking them out. Under Trump, they were afraid to come in here. Let me pull up the article. You see that? They were literally afraid to come into this country, and the ones that were here were fearing deportation. Let me find the one where they feared. Hold on. Undocumented immigrants grapple with anxiety, depression, all of this under Trump. Trump's attack on the legal migration system on both sides of the Mexican border. Fear grows for, hold on, for U.S. bound migrants. They didn't want that Trump smoke. They weren't fooling with it. They weren't fooling with it, fam. So yeah, the vote will help, especially if we put Trump back in office. I don't know if it's a rhino that it'll be much good or do much help to get a handle on the borders. But I do know under Trump, this will be shut down. Trump wants immigrants to be afraid. The core of Donald Trump's immigration policy, fear. The impact of Trump's immigration agenda. Trump's promise of millions of deportations. Immigrant deportations during the Trump administration. Immigrants fearing Trump's deportation policies. Avoiding the doctor. Living in fear. Just go Google and you will see how impactful he was when it came to getting a handle on these borders. And this is not true of all the repugnant clans. The rhinos are in bed with the liberals on the Democrat side to erase and replace us with immigrants. But Trump's people, they're not for all this immigration. And those are the lies they keep telling. Closing the borders is all we've got. Hi, Antonia. Welcome to the live, my sister. Yeah, Antonia is out there in Boston getting reparations done for our people. She's been with the movement since its inception. Don't be afraid about the nonsense. White hats are in control. Some people have to see before they get the courage to demand change. Well, family, I'm afraid that I've seen enough, okay? And if we don't get a handle politically, this election cycle, I don't know, fam. I feel like we're out of time. Join Truth Social. Join Truth Social. I don't have my glasses, y'all. And get her too, Angela. I don't know what that is, fam. Can you please Gmail me at therepperspect@gmail.com? Aw, thank you, Gwen XOXO. Listen to this beautiful Black woman, people. She's on a roll. Oh, thank you for your kind words, Gwen XOXO, and for rolling with your sister. I feel like going on. Come through, Harmony. 45 had them self-deporting, no public benefits. They had to be self-sufficient. Honey, he sure wasn't giving away our reparations and protections to not nary one of them. Unakin to the Joe Crow administration that's giving away our reparations and protections. 5,000 going north, honey. You said that right, honey. He will be, please, 45. I'm definitely not fooling with the Democrats. No, I'm pushing for closed borders and an end to threats of an impending nuclear war. That's right. Close them borders. They will only do it with our vote, family. We got to show up in Obama-style numbers in next election cycles. We're finished. Joe Crow and Kabami told Black folks they were going to get nothing. And what did Black folks do? Ran out here and voted to replace a overt racist in office of 4 years with no record against American freedmen, with covert racist in office a combined 60 plus years, with records against American freedmen several New York City blocks long, and the fact that they said they weren't going to do nothing for us. Ain't that about a blip? 86% of our electorate thought it a sound and novel idea. Absolutely, Harmony. Joe Crow said you better learn to get along with Hispanics. When asked about reparations on the debate stage while he was running for president, it's at the top of the broadcast in my intro. No to DACA. Yes, please stop immigration. Excellent work, Freedmen Descendants of Chicago. Solidarity supports Gabe for 5. Yes, ma'am, Miss Antonia. Yaira, beloved family, I'm leaving to an important land reparations call with my family. I love and appreciate you, dear sister Angela and family in the chat. Thank you, Yaira. We love and appreciate you too. What's up, A-Dub? You still over here? Oh my God, am I really at 3.5 hours? I'm about to close this out. Why are Black people so in the dark about what's going to destroy us? Because, honey, they really have this. They're not educated politically, sis. They're not. Not the numbers we need. If they were educated, if they had the knowledge that we impart here and some of the other Freedmen channels, you wouldn't have this going on. We would have replaced every Democrat during the midterms. At least the majority of them. They wouldn't still hold a majority in the Senate. They said Black people are miserable. That's why they're replacing us. No, if Black people are miserable, that's because they were made miserable. Honey, the Isleys and Mays, it was just an amazing, incredible night. Yes, you must go see the Isley brothers and Frankie Beverly. If they're on a ticket near you, please get out and support. It was epic. Harmony says Dr. Claude did a live with Boyce Watkins, and he admitted that 45's office was calling him almost every week, but he stopped answering the calls because he did not want to hurt the Biden administration. See, even a guru like Claude Anderson, Dr. Claude Anderson, was more concerned about the Joe Crow administration than doing the right thing with the Trump administration. Dr. Claude really thought that Biden and the Dems were going to okay money for a railroad going through the Cotton Belt, but that money went to Pelosi's district. Harmony, I don't know. I mean, they've only been lying to us for 60 years. What's it going to take for them to weaponize our vote? Akin to what happened when our ancestors couldn't get civil rights from the Republicans and then chose the Democrats. And that's why the boomers are sitting far more comfortably than Gen X and the millennials. And even in that number, it's few and far between. Ice Cube consulted with Dr. Claude and then with 45's administration. He sure did. And Harmony, Ice Cube was instrumental, along with Maxine Waters, with placing calls to Governor Newsom's office to sign off on AB 3121, ergo why we have a task force for reparations. Don't they know they're being deceived? Black people by voting for Democrats. I don't know what that means, my sister, but they don't know they're being deceived, and that's why they continue to go to the polls. And it's on us, my dear sister, comrade, to educate the masses and get them on code. We've got to do it no matter how unpopular it is, you know? You can access 45's plan specifically for Black Americans, not POC nor minorities. It was for us. He asked, what can he do for us? And he was getting ready to do something about the 14th Amendment too. Well, that's true, Harmony. I know all about that, wherein Ice Cube's conversation with the Republicans is concerned. And I really believe Trump would love to get reparations done. If he were ever to do it, it'd be while he was in office to trump the Democrats, okay? Pun intended. I believe he would like to get that done, but Ice Cube, no other entertainer, is in a position to spearhead those efforts. The kind of panel you saw tonight is the kind of panel that needs to spearhead those efforts. Sometimes celebrities are in the way on these issues because, truthfully, what Trump was offering, $500 billion, when we're owed 6.2 quadrillion on the very low end, we don't need celebrities at that table. We need celebrities to use their influence to get us at that table. He sure did. Tebe says, Clyburn sold us out when he chose Biden over Bernie Sanders. Yeah, thanks. Exactly. Yes, that wasn't enough though, Harmony. And that's why I'm saying Ice Cube should have, brokered the meeting and put the likes of the people here on the panel to actually have those conversations with the Trump administration. 500 billion is no money for 65, 70 million American freedmen in this country. Trump was kicking out the illegals. He wasn't playing with it, and that's why they were afraid to come over here. Yes, Harmony, it is breathtaking how bad they treat us. Well, you have to understand something too, family. I've said this on other archives, that it was the intent of Abe Lincoln to expatriate us from the country after they used our ancestors as the shoes to build the wealth they and now immigrants enjoy. So I think Gabe raised it tonight as a part of the broadcast, that these plans have been going on for hundreds of years, child. And we have been asleep at the wheel. 60 years got them closer and closer to a time such as now to erase and replace us with immigrants by our own damn vote. That's what gets my goat. It's rough to swallow that one because I was complicit in blindly voting for Barack Obama for 2 terms. And all the Democrats that came underneath his ticket. Then I got educated. Blacks rejected the only $500 billion reparations plan they've ever been offered. They chose to continue voting for the same party that literally enslaves them then and now. Yeah, you're right, Harmony. Instead of liquidating a $500 billion investment from America into themselves, their families, communities, and futures. Well, Harmony, my love, don't be too hard on us. Trump was pandering too. He knows 500 billion ain't nearly 500 billion ain't even a down payment that's reasonable for what is owed. So you can't get in bed with every contract. You got to know and have a spirit of discernment. But Trump was blowing smoke too. He wasn't about to do reparations. Don't believe the hype. They again chose hate, unemployment, crime surges, ODs, child sex changes, war, and the worst president in the U.S. history. No lies detected, Harmony. You're absolutely correct. And it's diabolical that we, American freedmen, are under the boot of all these bricks you just spelled out in this one text. Yes, Ivy dreams. Friedman's sister Shirley will be missed. I will be paying a tribute to her. I tried to do it, prior to her being laid to rest. I couldn't pull myself together, family. Between grief and work and managing my daughter, I just couldn't do it. But it's coming. So do know that a tribute to Shirley is coming, but I've got to put it together fit for the queen of American freedmen that she truly was. She literally gave her life to this movement. And we're going to dig into it in a broadcast exclusively dedicated to her life's work. Yeah, when you break federal law, you should be afraid. Liberia was to be our new home. That's not where Lincoln was trying to expatriate us, family. I don't think. Oh, it could be in part. I thought it was someplace else. I thought it was also in the Caribbean. I can't recall. Either way, Trick was no good. And they've been trying to kill us ever since because we refused to leave the country of our ancestors. With that being said, family, it's been a long 2.5 hours. I do want to say our prayer of protection before I pray us out and give a spiritual treatment to what's happening to us right now. Lord, where is it? Hold on, family. I got to bring it up. This is just something I newly started to add to try to put everyone who is participating in the attacks against American freedmen. I added this one little piece before I pray us out. Let me find my scripting notes. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Oh, excuse me, family. I am whipped. Hold on one second. Here we go. Okay, so I declare and decree that if you want to participate, you want to actually write down what I'm about to share, and you want to have a burning and releasing, okay, of this negative cloud that just permeates every facet of Freedman life. And this is, I'm going to read it to you right now. I don't know it. I haven't memorized it. I declare and decree that the highest form of righteous judgment is served on all corrupt beings of the government, the judicial system, including the police officers, CPS, Child Protective Services, the judges, attorneys, FBI agents, the CIA, and all personnel working for the U.S. corporation with wicked intentions. All hidden corruption and agendas are now destroyed forevermore in spirit and in flesh, in sleep and in awakened states, across all timelines, realms, and dimensions, known and unknown. And as you watch it go up in flames, give thanks to the Most High God and the ancestors for granting us the power and the authority to bring down this judgment. And then you want to call on your entire spiritual team, the ancestors to come in and assist you with establishing things in spirit and in flesh. Now, after you've done the burning and releasing, You're going to write this down on a candle with a permanent marker. You can get these type of glass candles from the Dollar Tree. And you want to burn this flame until it burns out, and then get another one and rewrite it, and then let it burn down, and keep going until we break this cycle. We can't do this on our own. We've got to invoke the Spirit of God and the ancestors to defeat this Goliath that is the albatross around the necks of American freedmen. So what you're going to write on your candle is this. It's pretty much the same. All corruption of the U.S. corporation, the police force, is now exposed, and justice for all wicked deeds and hidden acts, known and unknown, is now exposed and being punished and established in spirit and in flesh, in sleep and in awakened states across all timelines, realms, and dimensions, known and unknown. And so it is. So that's what you want to write on your glass candle. And you want to burn that and then buy a new one, write it down and burn that. So there's a burning and releasing. And then you want to do something more succinct in terms of what you write on that glass candle, and let that candle burn all the way out, and get another one until we break this cycle of ethnogenocide, this cycle and these plans for our genocide. We got to do it both ways. We got to pray and move our feet at the same time. And this is a new part of that practice that I've instituted. Thank you so much, Tebe. Tebe says that prayer was fire, truth, and power. Harmony says the 500 billion was a start, and it could have been funded by Congress in the budget. Yeah, you're right, Harmony. The bottom line is we need to do what the Democrats have always advised us against. We need to sit down and have conversations with the Republican Klan Party, and that's just it, and that's all. So we're gearing up to do that. We just assigned successfully. Well, we didn't win the mayoral seat in D.C., but it was a successful campaign that, thank you, my love. It was a very successful campaign that Hassan and her team over at Capital Accountability Project, they put together a team and got like a 17,500 additional votes in 2 weeks for Republican mayoral candidate Stacia Hall. So this is what we have to do. We've got to work in the spirit, and as we pray, we must move our feet and hit these streets and hit the phones and do all of it. It's a lot of work that needs to be done. And I'm just grateful to have you guys as comrades in this quest for American freedmen to finally be made American. And with that being said, family, I want to pray my usual prayer of protection over us, that the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever freedmen and its allies are, God truly is, because, family, you are the face of God. Yes, you are the voice of God. You are the body temple of the Spirit of the living God. Until next time, family, if no one's told you today how much they love you, know that I love you black and I love you freedmen strong. Yes, I do. Until we meet again, family, I want you to make it a beautiful, God-inspired rest of your evening and work week. I'm hopeful to get back over here. If not next Sunday with the tribute to Shirley, prayerfully, I'll get a chance to do it the Sunday after. And I'll definitely be here on that Saturday. I think it's Saturday, March 4th. I'll be here Saturday, March 4th with you for the day. I think, oh my God, I may have a track meet for Genesis. Let me tentatively make plans to be here March 4th with the California Reparations Task Force hearings on that Saturday. I won't be able to, and if I can't be here on that Saturday, I'll play it back for you guys on that Sunday, the 5th. I'll play the whole thing back to back so you guys can be privy to what happened. If I go to that track meet, I'll still be able to phone my comments in, but I won't be able to screen it with you live until the following day. Okay. With that being said, family, I want you to make it a beautiful, God-inspired rest of your evening and next couple of weeks, or at least the work week. I may be back next Sunday. We shall see. And until then, family, I'm believing for each and every one of us a ton of peace, love, and reparations, family. Good night.